Okay, so these are the tools that we use to build out these launches. So they're the launch pages, funnel pages, web pages, video pages, etc. Now, these are the tools that we use and we recommend. Now, some of these tools, we're only going to use one of the tools in the category, but there might be lots of great tools. And so we'll give you some alternatives. So these aren't all going to be things that we've used in personal experience, but because we have this Platinum Mastermind, Platinum Plus Mastermind, and because we have our Launch Club community where we're getting just constant feedback on what's working and what's not working, we'll give you some recommendations of things that we've heard good stuff about from people that we trust. So these aren't all going to be 100% from personal use, but they're either going to be from personal use or from recommendations from people that we know, like, and trust. Okay, so in general, the great things is these tools they're better than they've ever been. When I started out, I was hacking together the ugliest pages you could ever imagine. You got to remember, I'm not a designer, I'm not a coder, I don't know HTML, I don't know anything like that. So I just built these horrible, ugly pages. But now you can build beautiful pages that are super effective pages, and it's just the level of tools is just absolutely amazing. What you can create, just like filling out a few forms and dragging and dropping, is absolutely amazing. And they keep on getting better. One of these things is these are now what they call SaaSes, software as a service. And so in other words, for almost all of these, you'll pay on a monthly basis. And on one hand, that's not great because you're paying on a monthly basis. On the other hand, is they get better every month. They keep on getting better and better and better, and they keep on improving them. And they have lots of people using them, and they got lots of feedback from the people. So it really is a fantastic evolution where the world's gone in terms of these kinds of tools. Now, one thing is this list is not comprehensive. We're always coming out with, or not we're, but there's always new tools coming out there, new software coming out there, and we can't keep up with them. And this isn't designed to be like a consumer guide to software. I'm just telling you some of the things that work and some of the things that we use, some of the things that some of our closest clients use. There's this phrase, horses for courses, and that I've heard, I don't know if this is an Australian term or not, but I first heard it from my Aussie friends, and it's this idea of, in a horse race, there's some horses that are good on some courses and not so good on other courses. I like boats, and so there's some boats you might want a boat for cruising around the lake with a few friends. Another one you might want for crossing the Atlantic Ocean, and another boat you'd want for paddling down a whitewater river. And they're all radically different boats because they're designed for different purposes. And so different tools are designed for different purposes. And also, if you see me using a tool, doesn't mean it's the right tool for you. I spent the first 10 years of my business alone, just me, and then it was my wife helping me, my wife Mary helping me with some of the customer service and some of the finance stuff, but it was just me. So I was limited in what tools I could use. Then I started to grow my team gradually. Now it's a significant size team, and I've got all kinds of capabilities, and we use tools that if I was doing it myself, they'd probably be too complicated for me. And they certainly would have been way too expensive for me back when I started out. So just because you see me using something doesn't mean it's the right choice for you. It might be, but it might not be. I mean, people are always interested in what we're using, and I'll tell you what we're using, but just because we're using it doesn't mean it's the right one for you. The other thing is that all these tools have their own tutorials. And that's a great thing because they're a lot better at making tutorials than I am. So we don't have tutorials for these various tools because they all have their own tutorials, and they're all professionals at it, and they're all really good at it, and they're all continually updating those tools or those tutorials. So there's no way I could possibly compete with their tutorials. And then about these recommendations, some of them are going to be affiliate links, and I'll get a small commission if you follow my link. You're welcome to not follow my link. You can find them all on Google, I'm sure. The one thing is I'm only going to recommend something that I really believe in, because it'd be insane for me to risk my relationship with you by telling you to go use a tool that that's inferior, or I don't believe in. The reality is all these affiliate links make up, if I added up all the commissions I make from all these links, it's not going to make a significant difference in my business. It wouldn't be a drop in the bucket. So, so with no further ado, here's some of the stuff we're using or we like. Okay, now we're going to just go through some of the other types of pre-launch content pretty quickly here. There are lots of other types of pre-launch content in addition to video. One of them is audio, and this is generally not recommended. Back in the old days, we used to do audio. The thing is if you have a great audio, and maybe you did an audio interview with someone, that would be great, or you got a few different audio interviews and you're going to put them together into one audio. That's you can use that, but what you want to do is you want to turn it into screen capture. Just take that audio and then build out some slides for it, build out a mind map for it, get some photos, get some pictures, whatever, and marry up that audio to the screen capture, and it will raise the perceived value in a huge way. So generally not a big fan of audio these days. Very rare for people to just come to a website and sit there and click a play button and listen to an audio. Just throw up a screen cap there and turn it into a video, and it'll be a lot more impactful. You can do a PDF report. So this is where you put together a PDF, just create a document, turn it into a PDF, which you can do pretty much with all kinds of software these days. It's built right into most word processing software, like Pages for the Mac or Word. Very easy to create PDFs. You can do it as a written report where you just write sort of like a white paper type of thing. You can do it as a process map, a mind map, a flow chart, an infographic. The great thing about PDFs is they have really high perceived value, and people will opt in if you tell them they can download a PDF. They will opt in for it. Really works very, very well. And another thing that works great is mixing a PDF with a video. And I do that like with my product launch blueprint. I'll have a video, like a lengthy video, but the video is basically me going through the actual PDF. The other thing is it doesn't have to be super long. I've knocked out a great PDF report in a matter of a few hours. If you can do a PDF that's like 6 to 8 pages, and then you put in some graphics and a title page and a conclusion, you can end up with a 12, 14, 16 page report pretty darn quickly. So PDFs, very high perceived value, and can be very, very effective. I do like to match them with videos. If you put those two together, in terms of getting people to opt into your pre-launch content, that is a winning strategy. Now, there are even more kinds of pre-launch content, such as webinars or teleseminars. They can be used during your pre-launch, or they can be used after you open your cart. I tend to use them more after I open my cart, or right at the end of my pre-launch, right before we are about to open the cart. Of course, a webinar means they can see your screen, and you end up with a presentation that's not unlike this. It's not unlike a screen capture. The difference is a webinar, you're delivering that live, and people are all dialed in at that one time for the webinar. Teleseminar is just purely via the telephone, they're just getting you via audio. A lot easier to create a teleseminar than a webinar, because you don't have to bother creating slides and having to worry about what it looks like. So teleseminars can be very easy. Freeconferencecalling.com is a place you can get what we call a bridge line. That's how you actually do your teleseminar. There's a service, and you will dial into the service on your phone, and then other people, and you've got a PIN code that you type in, and that makes you the moderator so you can speak. Then other people can dial in, and they enter a PIN code as an attendee so they can listen. Very, very simple to use, very easy to use. Freeconferencecalling.com, you can actually get a free, what we call a bridge line, that allows you to do that. Now, if you're going to do a webinar, you can use Instant Teleseminar, or you can use GoToWebinar. Those are two services. GoToWebinar is generally more flexible, a little more powerful, and it costs a whole lot more money than Instant Teleseminar. I've used both of them. They're both very, very nice services. And then you can also, as pre-launch, you can give away software. This is something that I have not done, but you can actually create software. Probably not the most super expensive, crazy software. And you probably just want to use the software as one piece of pre-launch content, usually either your first piece of pre-launch content or your last piece of pre-launch content. It has really a high perceived value. It can be very, very effective. This is not something I've done, I've helped out in a couple launches where they did it, but I haven't done this. I'm not much of a software builder at this point in my life. So I can't tell you a lot about this from experience, but so you're on your own with this one. I left off a word there that says so you're on your, should be so you're on your own. And like I said, I have seen this be very, very effective. So if it ties in well with your launch, if you can create some piece of software and you've got experience or comfort doing that, then it's something to consider. So circling back, remember, in terms of creating pre-launch content, it is all about horses for courses. What you use depends on your situation, on what you can create, and what your assets are. Maybe you just did this amazing interview with some world-class expert in your market that just brings huge authority and social proof to your launch. Wow, now you've got this great audio. Well, turn that into a screen capture video. There you go. Boom, you've got it. On the other hand, maybe you're really great on camera, or you're just really well spoken on camera. You've got, someone that can shoot video for you. Maybe you're super attractive, whatever. Then use a video. Maybe you're just an incredible writer. You can create incredible reports. Well, use a PDF. So use, what you use should be based on your situation and what your assets are and what you're comfortable with. Video is really great for lots of situations, and it's good for you to get comfortable with video. Even if you're not comfortable right now, it's a great thing to start working on, because like I said earlier in that first video, in the first video that about creating pre-launch, in the first of this series, people can connect with you, and it's a lot easier to appear human and appear approachable and personable, and like you've got a personality, than it is for most people to do in writing. It's usually easier to do that on video. People can see you, they can sense your passion, your sincerity, and so it's great for lots of situations. So even if you're not comfortable with video now, if you just start shooting it now, you'll be comfortable sooner rather than later. It doesn't take that long to get comfortable in front of the camera. And remember, finally, it is about progress. It's not about perfection. You will get better at this. Just go ahead and just knock it out. It's a pre-launch done. If it's not perfect, then you can always do it over again. But it's really about progress and getting better over time. I've improved. I've seen so many of my PLF owners improve over time. It's amazing how you just get better and better by just taking those baby steps and moving forward and increasing your skills a little bit at a time. Okay, so this video is all about creating pre-launch content. It's about the different types of pre-launch content and actually the tools that we use to create the pre-launch content. So a few things that are important to remember to start with is this term horses for courses. I think of it as Australian term. The first time I heard it was from some Aussies. And this is the idea that different horses are better for different race courses, and different types of pre-launch content are right for different situations. So just because you see someone doing a launch with some certain type of pre-launch content doesn't mean you have to do it that way. Just because you see me using some fancy video, doesn't mean you have to do fancy video. So it's all about what's right for your situation, and what you use depends on your situation and your assets, what you can pull off. These days I have got a video studio. I've got a bunch of great video equipment, and I've got a great videographer and director producer who also happens to be my son Daniel. But 5 years ago I didn't have any of those assets, and it was really difficult for me to do full motion videos, so I did a lot less of it. And another thing is you do not have to, you can totally do a launch without using any video whatsoever, but video really is great for lots of situations. And the reason is because you will do best, your launch will do best if you put forward a very human face. In other words, no one wants to buy from some big corporation. They want to feel connected to the people they're buying from. So you should never feel worried about presenting some of your personality within your marketing. In fact, that's one of the things that has set me apart right from the very beginning is I didn't try to look like some big corporation. And even way back, in 1996, 1997, when I was getting started and everyone was trying to appear like some big fancy corporation, I just intuitively felt that it would be better if, I just spoke in a more personal, warm voice and people realized I was a real human. Nowadays, a lot more people realize that, and we see even the largest companies trying to appear a lot more human. And frankly, that's one of the advantages you have, or most of us have. The people who are going to be watching this tend to be in smaller businesses, sometimes even, or often even micro, tiny businesses. And one of the advantages we have over large companies is that we're very human and that people can really build a connection with us. Now, the thing is, when you are going to seek that connection, you want to be warm and personable, and you want to have a personality. You don't want to have some stuffy airline speak. By airline speak, like when you're going to board a plane, they always talk to you like you're like not even human. And you want to avoid that at all costs. And the thing is a lot of times when people start writing, for instance, and they might try to write a report, for part of their pre-launch. They might try to write a blog post. A lot of times, for a lot of people, their writing will actually they'll become a lot stuffier and corporate sounding, or sound like a college professor, and a lot less human sounding, and a lot less personable, and a lot less like a real person. It's easy for many of us to fall into that trap once we start writing. But turn a video camera on, and maybe the first few times will be awkward, but our humanity just instantly shines through when we do video for most of us. So that's why I would encourage you to consider using video, even if you're not terribly comfortable. We'll talk about that in just a minute, but video, your personality shines through and people can instantly tell you're a human. And so a lot of ways for non-professionals, for people that aren't, great marketers, great salespeople, it's often easier to connect with your audience, connect with your prospects in a lot more personable and human way when you're using video as opposed to using text. And remember, it's all about progress. It's not about perfection. Every launch I do, I get better at. If you look at the last launch I did, it is 100% better than the launch I did a year ago. And if you took a look at what I looked like when I first started doing video, it wasn't a very pretty sight. But I just kept on getting better and getting better. And you know what? My next launch will be even better. It's about progress, not perfection. You will get better at this. So let's just take a quick overview of some of the types of pre-launch content. So first of all, we have screen cap video. And screen cap video is actually what you're looking at right now. Basically, I'm using software to capture what's happening on my computer screen. So I'm sitting in my office, I've got a presentation put together, and I'm just recording my screen while I talk into a microphone. Very simple, easy to do, and it can be very, very effective. Then you could use what we call full motion or live video. And this is like regular video like you would see on TV. This is if you turn the camera on and started recording yourself, that's full motion or live video. Also very, very effective in terms of pre-launch content. So two very different types of video, but both are very, very powerful. Both have strengths and or positives and minuses. Then there's also audio, something we used to use way back in the dark ages, maybe around 2000, 2001, 2, 3, 4, until video started getting easier, probably around 2007, 2008. So we used to do a lot of audio, don't do so much of it anymore. PDF reports. This is where you actually put together some type of written material, stuff that can go into a PDF. It doesn't have to be written. It could be mind maps and other stuff like that. We'll get into that more later on. But PDFs, long history of using those in product launches. In fact, I think I've probably used a PDF report in just about every launch I've done in the last 8-9 years. Then there's webinars and teleseminars. They can be very, very powerful. Don't have to be overly complex, but they can be great. They can definitely be used great in pre-launch content. Also great once you open cart and you're actually selling your product. And then there is software And this is one I don't have a lot of experience in, but it's been used very effectively. And then I'm sure there's other types of pre-launch content I haven't thought about, we haven't discovered yet, or I'm forgetting about, but those are the primary ones right there. And in my next video, we'll start going through all these different types, starting with screen capture video and full motion video. Okay, we're going to talk about creating screen cap video. Now, in terms of screen cap video, there are many types of screen cap. You can do it as slides like I'm doing right now. Where it's basically you create a presentation in PowerPoint or in Keynote. You can do a mind map or a process map. I have done this a bunch where, in fact, I am pretty sure that I pioneered the whole idea of doing screen capture video with a mind map. In fact, my whole the first time I rolled out product launch formula, that was one of the things that I did both in the product and the pre-launch, and that was just like it blew people's mind back then. That was like 8 years ago. No one did it before I did it, at least that I ever saw, at least in this market. So I really pioneered that. Lots and lots of people have gone on to do that. So mind maps can be great. Process maps, very similar to mind maps. You can also screen cap a blog or a social media site. Now this is great for social proof. Say like later in your pre-launch, maybe your third piece of pre-launch content, or maybe even do a piece of content after your cart is open where you go, if you had a blog post and there's a lot of great comments on that blog post, or if you have a social media site where people are leaving you great comments and testimonials, fire up your screen cap and go to that site and then go through some of the comments, go through some of the discussion, go to your blog, go through some of the discussion, some of the comments. And it's just really powerful way to show if people are saying great things about you, or if you got a mention in some media, go shoot a video of that. It can be very powerful social proof if you're actually showing people how what other people think about you around the web. Along the same lines, you could do it in email. Like if someone sends you as a great testimonial via email, instead of just like showing them that testimonial, like showing some text on a screen, you can actually fire up your screen capture and navigate to your email program and open up the email, and it just looks so much more real and so much more authentic. This is something I did way back in 2005, and it was super effective back then. It's still effective. So basically you're letting people, it's just big time social proof when you do something like that. You can do it for a membership site. Like maybe it's your third piece of pre-launch content, and if you're selling, say, a membership site, you can take them for a virtual tour where you're opening up the membership site, and then you're navigating around and showing what's going on, and you're capturing that entire experience. So you're giving people an experience of going inside your product. If you did something like that, it can be very powerful. Another one is software. I mean, if you are selling software, you can give a tour of the software. You can show how the software works. You can show the results you get from the software. Very effective way to use screen capture. Okay, now in terms of screen cap, how do you actually do this? What are the tools we use? There are lots and lots of tools, and they keep on getting better and better. I've been using screen capture since, well, for like over a decade, I think, since 2003. And it's just the tools get better all along. Now on the Mac, I use ScreenFlow. That's the name of the program, and it's not a terribly expensive program. I think it's about I think it might be $100. And that's actually what I'm using right now to record this is ScreenFlow. And they keep on coming out with new versions. They have really great upgrade policies, and it's gotten so much better than it was when it started out, maybe, I don't know, about 4 years ago or something like that. You can also get Camtasia. Camtasia is a really powerful program on Windows. I'm not as big a fan of it on Mac. Right, the last time I looked, and of course, they're constantly coming out with new updates as well. So ScreenFlow and Camtasia are very competitive with each other. And I don't know, I haven't looked recently. Maybe Camtasia got a lot better. Last time I looked, I actually bought both of them and I tested them out, and I like ScreenFlow better. But again, it could be different by the time you are watching this. Then there's also QuickTime, and that is built right into your Mac. So you basically have a free screen capture tool right within QuickTime where you can just make a screen recording, is what they call it. Not as powerful or as flexible as ScreenFlow or Camtasia, but the price is right. It's a great place to test it out. And on the Mac, there are a bunch of other screen capture tools as well, but ScreenFlow and Camtasia are certainly the top of the heap the last time I looked. Now, Windows, it's a lot more limited. That's the bad news. The good news is that Camtasia is a great program on Windows. Now, I haven't used this in several years because I switched over to the Mac several years ago. But when I used Windows, I used Camtasia because it's just an extraordinary program. And it is quite a bit more expensive over on the Windows. The last time I looked, it was like $300 or something like that. So it's very expensive. But there is a 30-day free trial, so you can check out the 30-day free trial. It's completely unlimited, so you have 30 days when you could literally get the trial, learn how to use it, create an entire pre-launch, and create your product, and release it and pay for it. Theoretically, before you even needed to actually buy it. So it's just a great free trial. It's a great program. There's a free one called Cam Studio, and this one. It's been bought and sold a few times. At one point it was free, then it wasn't free. I just went and looked, and it looks like right now it's free, but this thing's bounced around quite a bit. I've never used it. I've heard of other people using it. How it compares to Camtasia, I don't know, but I just put it on there because it might be something you might want to check out. Okay, now continuing on the tools front, that software will capture the screen for you, and it will capture audio for you, but you have to worry about, the thing is audio quality is very important with your video. And this goes for whether you are using screen capture or full motion video. The audio quality is very important. Use an external mic. Don't use your computer's built-in mic as a general rule. The built-in mics and computers keep on getting better, but I would still use an external mic because they're not expensive. Headset mics are cheap and they work great. That's what I'm using right now. The great thing about them is they aren't impacted by the recording environment. And what I mean by that is you could be, well, I'll just give you an example. One time I shot, created a screen cap video, and then at my home, and then I was in at my office, and I decided I wanted to add some to it. I had my headset mic with me, and even though it was a completely different recording environment, I was able to just fire up my screen cap, record some audio, and then plug that right in, and you couldn't tell the difference. If you use a desktop mic or anything else other than a headset mic, it's very susceptible to your recording environment. What the room you're in, the placement of the mic is critical. Whether what the walls are made of, what kind of floor covering you have, can all impact a regular mic that's either on your desktop or on a stand. And it can be, it's very susceptible to the environment. And so if you change your environment, then you can't just go and mix in, mix different audios from different environments. Like that one time I told you I recorded with a headset, and I recorded, one part in my office, part at my home, and then I actually had to go. I took a trip, and I flew across the country to a different country, and I was in my hotel room, and I realized that I needed to make some changes. They weren't big, but just a few changes to that screen cap video. And I brought my microphone, my headset microphone, just in case. Put that on my head. I'm sitting there in a hotel room in a different country, recording an audio, and you couldn't tell the difference between the different audios, just because the nature of a headset mic where you're close mic'd, meaning the mic is very close to your mouth, not so impacted by your external environment, by the recording environment. So that's why I like them, and I tend to use them. They tend to be very cheap, and they work great. So I've got a few of them. I've used a few of them. I like the one I'm using right now is by Plantronics. It was probably about $120 mic. I've got one by Sennheiser I really like a lot. I just got a new one from Logitech that was a little bit smaller. I wanted something smaller that it could would fit in my bag when I traveled. So any of those brands, if you can really get a decent headset for $30, a decent headset mic for $30. I think the ones I've got, I spent mostly between $70 and $120, $150. Get a USB headset, so it just plugs right into your computer. Don't get one like with those little jacks, those little mini jacks, or the XLR inputs. Just get one with USB. It makes it a lot simpler for you. One of the things, and this is the times when I use don't use a headset. When I use like a mic on my desk is because I don't want to look geeky. Like if you're actually going to be on camera, because like in some programs like ScreenFlow, you can be on camera at the same time where you're recording the screen. They can see you up in the corner of the screen, and that can be pretty cool. But I don't want to. I don't like the way I look with a headset on. You look sort of like a geek. And so or if I'm doing like some webcam video where I'm doing a webcam interview or something, then I'll use a desktop mic because I don't want to get that. I don't want to have the headset on. I just think it looks a little bit geeky. Some people do it and they pull it off, but I just don't like the way they look on me. So if you are going to use a desktop mic, they are a little trickier to set up. They are definitely impacted by the recording environment, especially by the placement of the mic. And you can't move around. You have to stay in the same place. So that means, generally you're seated. You don't want to swivel around. You don't want to turn your head. You want to be talking directly into that mic. So that's very important. Now, a lot of times when I'm recording a screen cap video, I want to be standing up because I tend to have more energy when I'm standing up. And often I'll even walk around a little bit with my headset mic on. And in fact, right now I'm standing up. So I do think I bring more energy with a headset mic because I can move around. The other thing is if your chair might be noisy, it might rock, it might swivel, and when it does, it might creak. And when it does that, and you're using a desktop mic, it will pick up those sounds. So just something to be aware of. Now, the cool thing about desktop mics is you don't look geeky. In fact, you can look uber pro if like there's a shot of you and you got a fancy mic that's partially in the shot. It can actually look sort of cool, or at least some people can think it can look sort of cool. Again, get a USB mic. Don't bother with the XLR, in my opinion. If you get a USB mic, you can plug it into any computer. I like the Audio Technica AT2020. There are a bazillion mics you can get out there. This one's pretty inexpensive. I can't remember exactly what it costs, but I think it was about $100, give or take. And it's a very high quality mic. Okay, next up, we are going to go to full motion video and talk about full motion video. Okay, so I've already walked you through the 3 pieces of PLC, but I wanted to give you go a little deeper, a little bonus for you, and give you some what I'm calling skeleton scripts. So this is just sort of outlines to think about as you're scripting out your videos. And I do recommend you script them out. Even if you don't deliver them from a script, even if you just create the script and write it down and get it all nailed, and then sort of, and then go from an outline or go from memory, or just don't go from anything, but just script them out to know what you want to say. Don't think you can just turn on the camera and just nail this, because pretty much no one can do that. And the people that can do that are the people that have been delivering it for years and years and years and years and years and years. Now they can just go off the top of their head. The way to do this right is to actually script them out. I write out word for word. I write out my entire script. These days, and then how I deliver them over the years has been all over the place. I've sat there and had a script printed out at my feet. I would look down and I just memorize 2 or 3 sentences, and I'd look up and deliver them into the camera and then look down. That's awkward, but I've done it. I've done it on big whiteboards where I've written out bullet points on whiteboards. I've done it with huge Post-it notes on the wall behind the camera. I nowadays, for my pre-launch scripts and for my sales script, I actually use a teleprompter, and I go word for word from the teleprompter. So there's a lot of different ways you can do this, but you absolutely, whether you deliver it word for word from the script, whether or not you still want to script them out. So you've thought long and hard. And again, I know I'm not supposed to be talking about working hard, but by now you realize that if you're going to completely change your life with a launch, or change your business with a launch, there is some work involved. And so scripting these out, even if you just script them out to bullet point, but I actually like to go word for word. So PLC 1, you want to start off with that intro and the positioning. Then you want to show the opportunity. Then you want to share your launch story. And I like to think of this as there's sort of a short version of the story in PLC 1, and then you tend to reflect back on that story or expand on that story as you go through PLC 2 and PLC 3. So think about like your overall launch story is this one story that arcs through the 3 pieces of pre-launch content, and then you have 3 individual pieces in each of the video that tie in together, but then you also have like the first piece feels like a standalone piece. And then all of a sudden the second video, you have the second piece that feels like a standalone piece, but builds on that first piece. And then the third piece is the same. It feels standalone, but it builds on those first 2 pieces and ties this whole story arc together. You want to teach. So here we go. Intro and positioning, show the opportunity, share your story or the launch story, teach, raise objections and answer them right from the beginning. Then you foreshadow PLC2, and then you have your call to action. Now I go deeper in on this in the video I shot for you just on PLC1, but I'm just walking through the skeleton scripts right now. Okay, walking forward into PLC2. Remember, this is the transformation. This is the what. So again, you have introduction and the positioning. And the difference here between PLC2 and PLC1 is you're recapping the last video. That's the second bullet point, and tell them what you covered in that first video. You want to do this quickly. You don't want to be boring. You want it to work for both the people that haven't seen PLC1, but also the people that watched it. So now you're just sort of reminding them what you covered. You want to recap the opportunity. Again, you can go look at PLC2. I went into this deeper, quite a bit deeper on this. You want to recap your positioning. You want to present a case study. It could be you as a case study, or it could be one of your case studies, or you want to do some real teaching in here. Again, back to the objections. Keep on coming back to that. A call to action, and then foreshadow the third video or the third piece of pre-launch content. And then you have a call to action. Okay, PLC3. This is ownership, the ownership experience. This is the how. So you have your intro here. And then you can do a case study. There's often a lot of questions here. And again, that's a key phrase for objections. But PLC3, there tends to be more objection crushing, more objection answering in PLC3 than in PLC2 or 1. You want to give the big view. And this is sort of harkening back to the opportunity or that journey, but this is the big view of how their life is going to change. What it's going to be like to not only own your product, but own the transformation that they're going to have, the transformation in their life. Then you want to pivot to the offer and create a soft landing. Again, go watch that video on, I walked through exactly how to do this when I walked through PLC3. So definitely go back and watch that again. You want to seed the scarcity or the limit on your launch offer, and then you want to have a call to action. So again, this is just sort of your skeleton script and how to put it together for each one of the pieces of pre-launch content. And I definitely would recommend actually writing out your entire script the entire thing. Whether you deliver it from a script or not, you want to script the entire thing. Okay, we're going to talk about full motion video. So just like with the screen cap video, you need to have a good script. And the effectiveness of your full motion video is going to vary with your talent, i.e. you. But the thing is you don't have to be an actor. It's like I talked about with the screen cap. People want to see you. They don't want to see some fancy professional actor. They want to connect with a human. So a lot of people worry like they have an accent or their hair looks funny or whatever. That's what gives you personality. That's what gives you personality and helps you connect with people. And the thing is you will get better with practice. A lot of people, they look at me now and they're like, wow, Jeff, you're so great on video. I'm like, okay, yeah, but I've been doing it for years. I've done a lot of videos and I've gotten better. If you look back, my earlier videos were pretty rugged. They weren't that great. On the other hand, I've got a friend who's a professional actor, and he's on like NBC shows and major TV shows, and he looks at my video and he thinks they're pretty darn rough. So the thing is you start where you are and then you just get better from there. Now it is much easier to do full motion video with a teleprompter, and basically a teleprompter, it's a device where you are looking at the camera. Well, it's something that fits in front of your camera, and it will have your script on the camera. So you're looking at your script, but you're actually the camera is right behind the script, and you can read the script while you're looking straight into the camera, and they're pretty darn cool. And I've got one and I use one and I like it. I'll get a little more into that a little later on. If you want to shoot outside, teleprompters really don't work very well outside. Well, first of all, you need a long extension cord depending on where you're at, but then it's usually just too bright to be able to really read the teleprompters. There are some that work outside, but they tend to be a lot more expensive. And so just for the most part, teleprompters don't work outside all that well. And then full motion video, it's just more complicated. It's just plain trickier all around in most cases. Some people use green screen. I've actually at this point have never used a green screen. I was just had this really small event and someone was asking me about the video, and they asked, and I said, no, we never use green screen. We just haven't. Not to say you shouldn't, we haven't used it. And green screen is where you stand in front of, it's literally usually a green screen, a green piece of fabric, and then you can, in post, in the editing process, you can insert like a fake background instead of that green screen. So, it can be effective. We don't use it, but this person was just amazed. They're like, with all those outdoor shots you have, look so amazing. And it's like, I live in an amazing place, and it's taken us a little bit till we got the skill where we can actually do the outside shots and get good shots. But we do. So some people use green screen, we don't. Full motion video is generally harder to edit. It's just, but if you get a good editor, they can go through it pretty darn quickly. Probably easier than editing one of those super fancy screen caps full of all kinds of animations. So it really depends, if you're going simpler on the full motion, it doesn't have to be super complex to edit. And the other thing is you can do quick and dirty video. I even in my pre-launches, sometimes I've done like I'll do a Q&A video where I'm just answering a lot of the common questions. And when we shoot one of those, it's there, once we get the shot set up, we just turn on the camera and it's me ad-libbing answering some of the top questions that people are putting in. So it doesn't have to be really forced. But the thing is like if you're shooting full motion and you don't have a teleprompter and you're trying to perform to a script, then you're either going to have to do it one line at a time, it's going to take you forever, or you're going to have to do some memorization. So it can be that's where the effort really comes in with full motion. If you're trying to do it without a teleprompter and you've got a script that you have to perform to. So with full motion, a lot of people ask about the cameras we use, and the most important thing, a few things. First of all, there's lots of options and they are always changing. It seems like every year I'm shooting another one of these videos to update people on the different camera options. But the important thing to remember is it's not about the camera. It is the most important thing is you and how you appear on the camera and how you deliver your content. This is the most important thing. The second most important thing is probably getting the lighting right and getting the set right. And the third most important thing is probably the camera at that point. I've made really successful cameras or successful videos with $100 camera, like back in the digital camera days, just a little point and shoot digital camera that had like a video mode. And we shot a video with that. It was like $100 camera. We had no external mic, and it was a very effective video. It was just because of my performance and really my script. And it really wasn't even scripted, but because it was unscripted. But the content I delivered is what made the difference. You can even use your phone these days. The video quality you can get out of your phones can be amazing, especially if you can hook up an external audio for your phone. And on my iPhone, I can do that. I got like a little add-on that allows me to run a separate mic, and then so we have external audio. So external audio input is very important. Whatever camera you get, again, you don't absolutely need it, because I did do really well with that $100 camera with on-camera mic. But when you start shopping for a camera, I would look for an external audio input, because just like with screen cap, you want to have good audio. And if you can run a mic into your camera, then that's really great. Now you can always use like a little digital audio recorder that's separate from your camera. If your camera does not have an external audio input, you can always record audio with a digital audio recorder, an external device, and then in your editing match up the audio and the video. It's a little more complicated, but you know, I've got a couple of platinum members that really do that very, very well. And then another thing that's really nice to have, and tends to be on more advanced cameras, is audio monitoring, so that who's ever shooting your video can actually plug in a headset and make sure that the audio you're capturing is good audio. This is, I can't tell you how many times we've lost shots because we thought we had good audio, but then we got back because we didn't have that audio monitoring. And then we got back into the studio and found out we did not have good audio. You know, this happens a lot. Like if you're shooting outside, there might be a little wind and you're trying to decide, you know, if you're picking up wind noise. And I'll tell you what, wind noise can really kill your videos in a hurry. So if you're outside, it's a little windy, you're not sure, if you're monitoring the audio, especially in real time, well, that can be really, really nice. But again, you know, it's not about the camera. So camera choices, you can use your phone, especially if you can hook in external audio. We've used Canon Vixias in the past for video cameras. Again, this is constantly changing. I mean, probably the day after I record this thing, it's going to be outmoded. But we have had, for a number of years, we've been using the Canon Vixias, and we've been really happy. We've been using digital SLRs is really what we've moved to recently, DSLRs. And what we're using right now is the Canon 5D and the Canon 6D. I'm going to warn you, they are very, very expensive. They are true pro level cameras. We get great shots. Again, it's not about the camera, but people always want to know what we're using. That's what we're using right now. It's not about the camera. Now, audio is really important. If you're doing an outside shot, watch out for the wind noise. It doesn't take much wind to just to completely mess up your videos. We use an external mic. Lavalier mics, those are otherwise known as lav mics or lapel mics. They come in wired and wireless. They start at around $30 and they go up. I think there's a pretty nice Audio Technica lav mic that you can get, a wired one, for about 30 or $40. We, of course, just because of the nature of my business and the fact that I can afford it, and you know, I've got a lot of competition, a lot of really, really good competitors, and they are putting out great quality video, so I need to match that. So I went top shelf. I use a Sennheiser wireless lav mic. I think that costs about $550. And that's just, again, people want to know what we're using. So we're using the camera that costs thousands, and we're using mics that cost $500 or $600. Teleprompter. They are very nice to have, if only for the bullet points. And usually it's very rare for me to put a full script on a teleprompter. I'm usually going from bullet points. Although if I'm doing a pre-launch, like my pre-launch videos, let's see, this time around we went with bullet points, because when I was inside, I was mostly in teaching mode, teaching at the whiteboard, and I didn't need a full script. For our outside shots, the intros and conclusions were mostly outside shots. And those were more scripted. They weren't word for word scripted, but they were more scripted. And I just memorized my lines for that. But teleprompters are very, very nice to have. You get to look directly into the camera while you're reading from the teleprompter. They can be expensive. I think we've probably spent, I don't know, $1,600 or $1,700 for ours. So they can be very expensive to get a pro level one. But you can make your own with an iPad. If you just go to Google and search like iPad teleprompter, or make a teleprompter out of an iPad or something like that, you'll see instructions. You have to be sort of handy to do that, but it's doable. I got my teleprompter at prompterpeople.com. Again, it was very, very expensive. Use a tripod. It doesn't have to be fancy. Again, tripods, you can get super fancy. I think the tripods I'm using are probably about $300 to $400. You could literally spend thousands on a tripod. But you could also go to Walmart or someplace like that and get one for $30, and that $30 tripod is going to be 100 times more effective than not using a tripod. So again, you can spend as much as you want. I forget what brand we use, but ours is a very, very solid one, pro level, but it's not like crazy, amazing fluid head, super duper pro level. So yeah, we got probably about $300 or $400 into each of our tripods. Editing software, lots of choices here on the Mac. Actually, there's less choices on the Mac when it comes to video editing software. You can either go with iMovie, which comes free with your Mac, or Adobe Premiere, which is pro level, probably it costs a lot of money. It comes, if you get that online, pay by the month suite for Adobe, I think it's, I don't know, 30 or 40 or $50 a month. And it comes with all kinds of stuff, including Premiere. And then Final Cut is made by Apple. That's their more pro level editing software. So you can either go, with iMovie on the low end and it's free, or you can step up to pro versions like Adobe Premiere or Final Cut. And Windows, tends to be a lot more choices, lots of them. Two of the pro level ones are Adobe Premiere and Sony Vegas. Back when I was using Windows, there's like a $99 version of Sony Vegas. It's called Movie Studio. I haven't looked recently, but that was an extraordinarily powerful piece of software, and it might have even just been like $70. It's a great piece of software. Nothing, there's nothing on the Mac that's equivalent to that, because that was more powerful than iMovie and a lot cheaper than going to full pro level software, and a lot easier than pro level software. So, I don't know if it's still like that on Windows. It's been a number of years since I've used Windows, but there certainly was a very nice, they had these nice mid-level programs on Windows. So that was one great thing with Windows. So that is full motion video. And next I'm going to walk you through some of the other types of pre-launch content.
Welcome to writing your PLC emails. Now, you just saw Jeff walk you through his PLC emails, and you learned a ton about what to do, what not to do. Now it's time for you to write your own emails for your PLC sequence. This work is really important. You've created some great pre-launch content for your launch. Your emails are how you make sure your prospects see your PLCs. It's how you get eyes on them. See, the pre-launch sequence isn't just your pre-launch content, it's your pre-launch content plus your emails. So we're going to focus on the actual content of your emails today. We have an exercise for you to help plan out your emails, and you'll find more resources in your action guide. So let's dive in. An effective email is made up of a subject line, the main body, a call to action, and a PS. Much like the headline of your landing page, your subject line is one of the most important parts to get right. If you can't get someone to open your email, it's going to be hard to get them to click your link. The best kind of subject lines are those that are intriguing, that make people want to find out more. You want to avoid making it sound like clickbait, of course, but at the same time, you want people to want to open your email. You can also try asking a question. For example, you could take the problem that you're addressing in the pre-launch content and just ask, are you struggling with X, whatever the problem is? Or you can begin a sentence and leave the ending unfinished. Something like, I almost fell off my bike this weekend. Another important element in subject lines is the scarcity mental trigger. You can incorporate this by reminding folks that the PLC is only available for a limited time. And you can do that right in the subject line. Also, remember to use the language that your avatar uses. Speak to their needs, desires, and fears, and their aspirations. And as Jeff taught you already, you want to come up with subject lines to announce your PLCs, but also additional subject lines you could use when you mail to your unopens. A final thing to bear in mind when it comes to subject lines is how long they are, or the number of characters. The length of your subject line will be limited by the email client and device that your subscribers use. For example, most mobile devices limit subject line length to around 30 to 40 characters. This includes spaces and punctuation, so keep that in mind. So you want to try to keep your subject lines concise, or at least make the first 30 to 40 characters intriguing enough on their own. Next, let's talk about the main body of your email. This should be focused on getting your prospects to click through to your PLC. And how do you do that? By not giving everything away. Your main body should be structured something like this: a strong opener, why this PLC is important, and setting up the problem. So you start with a strong opener, almost like a subheading based on your subject line. You want something that's really going to grip them, like a story would. For example, you can start with something along the lines of, I always thought, think about a bad solution, would solve all my problems. And then work on giving them a reason to click through to your PLC by explaining why you decided to cover what you're covering. Why is this topic so important to them? This is where you're going to circle back to the sideways sales letter. In your email for PLC 1, you'll explain why the opportunity that awaits them is so important. For PLC 2, you'll explain why the transformation is important. And for PLC 3, you'll explain how the ownership experience will transform their lives. And finally, you'll set up the problem that you're going to address in your PLC, remembering to speak to their specific pain points. You're basically following the PS path again, setting up the problem in your email before prompting them to click through to your PLC for the solution. That's where your call to action comes in. After you set up the problem and explain why it's so important that they know what they're going to learn in your PLC, you give them a direct instruction to visit that content. Keep this clear and simple. Something like, click here to access the free training. Or you can make it a little more enticing or personalized by saying something like, click here to learn how to do X. All right, so you have your subject, your body, and your call to action. That's it, right? Wrong. A super powerful part of your email comes in the form of a PS. After you sign off, you add a PS at the bottom of your email that basically rephrases what you included in the main body of your email or adds another piece of enticing information and repeats the call to action. It's amazing how this little technique can improve your click-through rates. For example, your PS could say something like, PS, the video is only available until the end of the week. So if you want to learn how to X, click here now. And as you start working on your emails, remember to sprinkle in the mental triggers throughout, just like you do in your PLCs. Now, when you're done, scroll down and leave a comment. Let us know your biggest takeaway from this lesson.
Okay, this is creating pre-launch content, and I want to talk about screen cap video versus full motion video. So this will be a big decision for a lot of people. So screen capture, which again is just basically, well, you're looking at a screen capture right now. It's just a video that captures stuff going on your computer screen while you talk over it. So screen capture is often often a lot easier than full motion, for lots of reasons. I mean, basically, this video, all I did was create a keynote or a PowerPoint presentation, and then I turned on my recorder and I hooked up my microphone and I started talking. And, as opposed to, if this was a full motion video, boy, we'd have to put together some type of a video shot. It might be the shot where I'm at my whiteboard, but we'd have to put together a shot. I'd have to get my cameraman. We'd have to get the lights all hooked up. I'd have to care about how I looked. I'd have to get dressed or something maybe. And there's just a lot more going on generally with a full motion, whereas a quick and dirty screen cap can be a lot easier. It can be a lot easier to deliver a script with a screen cap video. So this video is not scripted, and we're going over material I know very, very well. So I can just basically hit the record button and start talking and just deliver the content. But if this was a pre-launch content, I wanted to be generally our pre-launch videos, our pre-launch content is a lot more tightly scripted. Even if it's just bullet points, I still have a pretty darn good idea of exactly how I want to go through it. And if this is your first launch or you're just starting out, you probably want to script it pretty darn tightly. And even now, with all the experience I have, my pre-launch videos are pretty darn scripted. They're not word for word. Especially in the teaching portions, then I just go from bullet points, but usually the beginning of the video and the end of the video, pretty darn scripted. Again, I'm usually not delivering line by line to the script, but but I've at least written it out, and I've studied it quite a bit, and I'm ready to go with the script. So the thing is if you're going to deliver from a script with a screen capture, it's a lot easier for you you can be reading off a printed script, you could be reading off a script on your computer screen. Often with pre-launch videos, you will record your script. You'll actually record the audio first. So there's no video going on. You'll record the audio first, and then you'll do your screen capture to the audio recording. So you're doing one piece at a time. And that's just a lot easier than standing in front of a camera and delivering a scripted message. Another thing about full motion video is some people really don't like to be on camera. They find that full motion is really painful. A lot of times people are like, oh, I'll start shooting full motion when I lose 20 pounds or something like that. So a lot of people just don't like how they look. They're concerned about what to do with their hands. They're concerned about what to do with their eyes. They're concerned about their dress. The reality is you shouldn't, for most of that stuff, you should just don't worry about it that much and just start getting in front of the camera and practicing, and pretty soon it'll be pretty natural. But a lot of times people don't like to be on camera, and if that's the case, then screen capture is the way to go. It's generally, now this is one that's in favor of full motion. It's generally easier for the viewer to connect with you if it's a full motion video. So like right now, you can't see me, you can't see the expression on my face, you can't see any gestures I'm making. So it's harder to connect with someone if it's a screen capture video. Now, since you've seen a lot of me in full motion video, and you've seen me both in my pre-launch, and we'll use a lot of full motion videos within this course, you've seen me, so you've probably built up that connection. But if you had never seen me in full motion, you just wouldn't have as close a connection with me as you do with full motion. Generally, it's a lot easier to edit screen capture after the fact. So if I forget to say something here, I can literally go back and just record another audio piece and just insert it right into this video, and you would never know the difference just by the nature of this, the editing process of screen capture. It's a lot easier to do that. If you shoot a full motion video and then all of a sudden, like a day or two from now, you realize, oh, I forgot about that one piece. It's harder to go and edit that piece in later after the fact. It's possible, but you have to worry about all this, the set being perfectly the same, your clothes being perfectly the same, your hair being perfectly the same, and it's just a lot harder to do something like that after the fact. In fact, if you find a situation where you do need to edit something in to a full motion video, a lot of times the best way to do it is to actually record it as a screen cap and just put a little screen cap section in the middle of your full motion video. Now, it can be awkward if you've got like a 15-minute video and then you just have one piece of screen cap in the middle. So, you have to play with that. You might have to add several different screen cap segments, but you could do that. But the overall message is that it is easier to edit screen capture after the fact than it is to do the same with full motion video. Screen capture can be a lot faster to create. Obviously this video, I'm basically just turn on the recorder and I'm speaking into it. Now, if it is a tightly scripted piece of pre-launch content, it can still be a lot easier, a lot faster to create than a full motion video. Now, on the other hand, screen capture can be slower to create if you want to use a whole bunch of fancy animations. In that case, if you want to have different pictures flying in and out, and you can get very, very fancy with screen capture video. And once you start to do that, well, it does get to be, it gets to be slower. It's a lot more effort to create. Another thing that's important to remember is you can mix full motion with screen capture video. So I have done this a lot, probably the last 6 or 8 launches, I've done something like this. For me, like I often do this blueprint video at the end of the third piece of pre-launch content is traditionally. And what I'll do is I'll have a full motion intro where I'm talking directly to the camera, talking about what what the viewer is going to get, and then we'll cut to a screen capture video, and I'll deliver a whole bunch of content via screen capture, and then often at the end I'll come back and do a full motion conclusion. So, and there's all different ways to do this. You can do something that's almost all full motion with some screen cap pieces that come in if you're talking about a certain bullet points. But you can get very creative. You can mix and match the two of them. Let's talk about mailing your launch list. And if you're not familiar with the idea of a launch list, go back and watch the previous lesson where I went deep into the whole idea of the launch list. So you want to, first things first, just put your pre-launch content behind an opt-in form or a squeeze page so people have to join your launch list to see your pre-launch content. And when they do, they're opting in to get your launch emails. Then you can start your full launch sequence. So you want to plan out and write your sequence ahead of time. And you can, well, let's be real. There's a lot that's going to happen in your launch. And I've had many launches where I'm writing the emails like 10 minutes before we send them out. But ideally, this is one thing where you can get ahead in your launch. I mean, there's a lot to do in a launch. This is one of those things that's pretty easy to get ahead of. That doesn't mean you're not going to tweak your emails. You're not going to make some changes as you get into the launch and figure out what are people's hot buttons, what are people really reacting to, what's going on in the launch. And as you're going to see, because I'm going to walk you through our sequence, some of the stuff we're just sort of guessing ahead of time and putting it in there, and hopefully it all pans out. But like I said, this is one place where you can get ahead in your schedule. I do use Google Docs. We use Google Docs. It used to be for, I don't know, 8, 9, 10 years in this business, probably actually 10 years. I didn't have anyone working with me other than my wife helped me out. Now I've got a great big team. And so with the great big team having Google Docs, it allows us to share these and collaborate a lot easier. So I might write an email and someone else might proof it and someone else might queue it up and send it in our email program. Or someone else might write the email and I'll go in and approve it and tweak it, and then someone else will proof it, and then someone else will send it. So it allows us to collaborate. But even if you're just doing it yourself, Google Docs, just the way you can lay it out like this, can work pretty nicely rather than having a bunch of different Word files or different text files. So I do like organizing it this way. So your sequence, this is your pre-launch sequence. It could have anywhere from 4 to 9 emails. That doesn't include your open cart. That's just your pre-launch. And you want to have strategy for mailing your unopens. So different email programs are different, but they generally will allow you to set up the tag to know who opened your emails and clicks through. And then you can send the people that didn't open the email, you can send them a second email to get them to try to click on over. And the way I look at this is like, if they didn't open your email, it's just sitting in their inbox. And newsflash, if you're just starting to build your list, lots of people won't open your email. In fact, the majority of people will not open your email. That's just life. We all get too much email, and they're looking in their inbox and deciding whether to open your email or not. Most of the time they won't. So basically, if they haven't opened your email, that means they didn't vote for it. They voted against it. And so if you're going to send again to them, sending to your unopens, you want to change the subject line. Now, since they didn't open it up, it was a subject line that they voted against. It wasn't the email copy. So you don't really have to change the copy in the email. Now, generally in most email programs, you can send to unopens, and you can also send to non-clicks. So I will generally send unopens. It's a bigger universe. The non-clicks include people that didn't open and didn't click. The unopens are just people that didn't open. So that's a bigger universe. So I'll generally send to the unopens, and then you just have to change your subject line. Now, if for some reason you want to send to your non-clicks, you also have to change the copy in the email because they didn't vote for your email. Okay, moving right along. This is what a typical map for one of our launches will look like. This is the days of the week that work well in our launch for our market. Different days of the week will work differently for different markets. For instance, I've never been part of the how to get more dates for men market, but it's a big market. And I know I've heard that the best day to get your emails opened is on Saturday, like Saturday evening when guys are sitting home alone without a date. That's a great time to email them and a great time to send them a sales message. So that's a different market. Different markets act differently. This is what's been working this changes over time. But this has been what's working well for us is opening usually on Wednesday or Thursday, opening up PLC 1 right there. So we mail to PLC 1, we mail to unopens the next day. Then the next day we will send like what we call social proof email. I'll show you what it looks like. Saturday's usually not a great day for us to mail. Sunday is a pretty good day for us to mail. Monday and Tuesdays, not always the greatest days to mail. But Wednesday, Thursday, Friday do tend to be good days for us to mail. So this is what our typical mailing schedule looks like. So we'll come back with PLC 2 on Sunday, then a couple days later mail to unopens, PLC 3 on Thursday, then Friday unopens, and then on Sunday we start prepping people for the open cart, and then we do the open cart Monday through Friday. That's what works well in our market. It's like I said, it's market dependent. And there are even some people in our market that disagree with this. But this is what works well for us. But what's important is not necessarily the specific days, but this idea, the sequence. You mail the first PLC, and then you mail the unopens. PLC 2, then unopens. PLC 3, then unopens. Okay, so let's take a look at what this actually looks like for us in practice. So this is our sequence for our pre-launch, and these are just bookmarks. So the way this document works is up here we just have an index, and then we have all the various documents down here, and we have, these are just simple bookmarks that are set up that'll take you down to the spot. So the way my business is currently organized as I'm recording this is once a year we do one big public launch. And so that's what this is about. Remember, these are people that are already on my list, but I'm getting them to join my launch list. I'm getting them to re-up, to opt in again, to go through this launch with me. So I say once a year. This workshop is free, is the subject line. That's been working well for us. We've tested that. Doesn't mean we're not going to change it in the future, but the idea is that we've got a workshop and it's free. And then we underline the fact that it's free. There's no credit card required, no upsells. The only thing you need to access it is your email address. I'm going to be opening, and so right here, this is something I've been doing for a number of years, is right up front, often I'll tell people, this is part of a launch. I will be opening my full course soon, but for the next 12 days, this is free. One thing I want to note here is, actually, I'm going to go back over here and show you, I'll go prior, is the thing that you have to remember is some people are going to opt in on PLC 1 and they're going to be part of your journey from here, but some people are going to opt in on PLC 2. So this email has to sort of account for that. I'm sorry, right here. They'll opt in here for PLC 2, and then, so people will come into your launch at different times. That's okay. You can't get everyone to automatically sign up here on PLC 1. That would be ideal, but you don't. And really what we do, to get a little more technical, is like when someone joins your email list, generally there's an email that goes out immediately that welcomes them, that says, hey, you're all set up now. Fantastic. And that welcome email will actually tweak. So in PLC 1, if they join, the email they get is awesome. You're ready for the workshop. PLC 2, when they get that, it's awesome. You're ready for the workshop. If you missed that first, since you missed the first video, go check that one out. We'll give a link to the first video as well. And we'll do the same thing with PLC 3. It's not super complicated, but we're just giving people a slightly different welcome message depending on when they join. Again, this is how you exactly do that in your email program varies, but it's generally very simple no matter what your program. So coming back to this first email, a little bit of just about it. It's not theoretical. We've gotten $500 million in results. Now this is old. Now it's over $1 billion in results. But anyways, it's a bit of just like a bit of authority build. And down here is a bit of authority build. So authority is one of those most important mental triggers. I've been doing it for a long time, and I've had 1 million people go through it. So that's massive authority. Now, you probably won't have the authority to the level I do, but that's okay. Use what you've got. So I give, and this is just standard email. The way I organize email is I have a link, and then I give a little extra white space below that link, and then a link, an extra white space below that link. So it's, the copy is always a paragraph that leads into the link, and then the link, and then a little bit of extra space, and so on. So this is what we send out for the people that didn't opt in for that first one. The people that didn't open that first one. So I actually, once a year, this is the subject line up here. So down here, I went with a different subject line. And actually, it's not just a different subject line, but it's actually a different thought. It's a different angle. It's a different direction. And I put out new copy here. As I mentioned earlier, you don't necessarily need to change your copy if you're sending it unopens, but I went ahead and did it anyways. It's one of the best I've shot. It's been in the wild, and people are excited about it. So here is an example. I wrote this ahead of time. I didn't know how many comments there were going to be on this video when I wrote this ahead of time. So I just put in this XX as a placeholder. That's just a placeholder so that I wrote this ahead of time, but I know that I'm going to have to update this. And often when I'm doing this, I'll actually put a little, you can put a comment in, and I'll just put in the comment here so that when I go back and look at this, I'll know I need to verify it. So I'll just add that comment like that. So yeah, it's just a little procedural hint there. Okay, so this one is, if we go back up to the top, this is what we call, let's go back to the top. That's not working for me. This is what we call the social proof email. It's this one here, the social proof email. So we're going to go back down here. And this is just me being silly, holy scampering feedback. Okay, I've got, based on all these comments, I'm officially calling this the most popular content pack video I've ever done. Don't take my word. And so I just screenshotted some of the comments, and I put the screenshot in the email. So this is just a pure social proof email. Now this is going out to everyone on the launch list, as opposed to this one right here, the email number 2. This is only going to people. This is going to people that haven't opted in yet. This one is going out to the launch list, to the full launch list, because you know what? Some of those people will not have watched the first video. Even though they opted in, a lot of them will not have actually gone through the entire video. And even if they have, I love having this social proof, so I'm sending out this social proof to everyone. Then down here, I'm just queuing them up for lesson number 2. So this is lesson number 1. I've got lesson number 2 coming for you, and it's really cool because it's about the seed launch. Here's a link to go watch video 1. So really what we're doing here is, this is just social proof about video 1, about how awesome it is, getting them stoked, getting them to go back and consume it if they haven't watched it, and getting them excited about the next one. And just as a hint, if you do this right, getting people to watch email number 1 is generally the most important thing in your launch. Well, getting them to watch that and to watch your sales video, your sales message, the 2 really important things, because lesson 1 sets up the entire launch. So get people to watch that first lesson, which is why we're working really hard here. So next email, this one is about PLC2. So your seed launch plus next steps. This is the second video. It's only available for a few days. It's about the seed launch. This is part of my 4-part product launch workshop. Again, I'm telling them I'm going to be opening the full course soon. So this isn't like this isn't like smoke and mirrors. I'm telling them up front that I will be opening up the full course soon. But for now, you can get this. You can get the workshop for free. Go check it out. It covers a lot of ground, including the internal and JV launch, including launch stacking. So I'm really trying to sell the click to get people to go watch the second video. So this is the next email. This is going out to unopens, and this is again trying to push them to the second video, the second PLC. So this is coming from a different direction than this one up here. This is your seed launch. This one is the 3 tools. So a very different direction in the subject line to get those people that didn't open up. Okay, moving down, this is PLC 3. This is just, we got it, and here we put download at the beginning, which that's been working pretty well. And these subject lines, their trends come and go. Putting that up there has worked well for us over the years. It's just telling people, here you go. We got the whole thing. It's awesome. This is lesson 3. I'm going to be opening up product launch formula soon, but right now you can go get it for free. And be sure to watch. This is like a big thing for us, since this is a big PDF and people love this PDF, but I want them to watch the video. The video is more important than the PDF. So it's sort of like the PDF is this bait that we sort of dangle out there to get people to click through and opt in, but I really want them to watch the video, so that's what the PS is about. If you're new to copywriting, the PS can be super powerful. Super, super powerful. It's really, in some ways, it's the most powerful part of the email. People might start off here, but then they'll skip down and see that PS. And you always want to use that PS, and you want to use it for something that you really want people to do. I really want them to watch the video. Okay, so this is for PLC 3 on opens. Super simple, super short. Just want to make sure you got it. It's completely free. Go download it right now. And here I'm breaking my own rule. I didn't use a PS here. This is just an example of a really short email. I like to vary the lengths of my emails. Sometimes they're super long, sometimes they're in the middle, sometimes they're super, super short like this. Okay, email number 8. So now we're getting near the end of the pre-launch. We're out here now. Out here, it's Sunday. It's right before open cart. We've sent everyone all the PLCs. Now we're right at the end. So here, it's just this is basically a summary. It's just a summary. I have this, sort of a silly subject line. It's a summary. I've sent you 3 lessons. Tomorrow I've got 1 more lesson. It's about moving forward. And towards the end of the lesson, I'll give you the details about my product launch formula coaching program. We're going to be opening up registration tomorrow. In the meantime, if you missed any of these lessons, go watch them. So right now, it's the night before we open up. What's the thing I want them to do most? I want them to be thinking about this launch. I want them to think about the product, and the best way is to have them go through all the lessons. So I give them a link to take them back to the PLC. Just the PS is a reminder that, we're going to open up tomorrow morning. And then finally, and this one's optional. This one's optional, but this is just an email that we send out before the open. So this is just trying to get people all excited about the open. It's about your final lesson, the calm before the storm. Okay, we're just a few hours from releasing the final lesson. It covers a lot of ground. I'm also opening the program today. It fills up quickly. We've been working hard and testing all our registration systems. So this is just sort of trying to get people excited. This is a big happening. There's something, it's big. We had to test everything out. I'm going to open registration today to be able to figure out what that time is. Here is a time zone converter, because it's so important, because it's opening today. It's opening at 10 a.m. I want you to get the right time. And I'll send you a link once we go live in just a few hours. And here again, if you missed any of the first 3 lessons, again, if it's just a few hours till we launch, what do I want them to do? I want them to be thinking about the launch. I want them to be thinking about this workshop. And this is where to go check it out. So that is our pre-launch sequence. And you want to put something like this together to maximize your launch. Okay, so let's talk about your sales video here. So I'm going to give you a couple of absolutely key rules here that you need to follow. This is, if you don't get any, if you only do this, you don't do anything else right, then you're going to be just fine. And rule number one is that your offer in your sales video is not, it's all about the transformation. It's not about the stuff. It's about how your prospect's life is going to be transformed. It's like, what impact will your product make on them? What change will they have in their life? And I don't care if you're selling golf clubs, or you're selling a product about how to play guitar, or you're selling a product about how to sell real estate, or how to have a massage therapy practice. It doesn't matter. It's about the transformation. Your product is about the transformation. It's how your prospect, once they buy your product, how is their life going to change? How is it going to be better? How are you going to increase their pleasure or decrease their pain? It's not about whether you deliver it on a bunch of DVDs, or it's in a book, or it's in a seminar or a webinar, or it's a widget or whatever. It's not so much about the stuff. It's about the transformation. The stuff is far, far less important. The actual deliverables, how they get it in their hands, isn't nearly as important as what the transformation is. Think about, like, if you had the cure for cancer, you were selling the cure for cancer, would it matter if it was a pill that they took, or if it was a shot that they took, or if they had to sit in a machine for a half an hour or whatever? It doesn't matter how it's delivered. Now, in the example of like cancer, and like if it's radiation treatment and they have to go through this horrible treatment for weeks on end, well, then the stuff does matter. But for the most part, it's the end result that's really important. So you have to focus on that in your sales video. And then rule number two is to refer back to rule number one. In other words, it's all about communicating the transformation. That's what your sales video exists to do. That's the reason for it, is to communicate that transformation and then ask for the money. Okay, so a lot of people, I want to get this out of the way right away. A lot of people are really concerned about how long their sales video should be. Now, I don't want to be flippant here, but this is important. Don't think, wow, Jeff's got a 27-minute video, so I have to make my video 27 minutes long. Or so-and-so had a 9-minute video, and I have to make my video 9 minutes long. Or so-and-so had a 50-minute video, so I need to make my video 50 minutes long. The deal is, your video should be as long as it needs to be to tell the complete story of your product and to make your offer, and then not 1 second longer. And really, this goes for all your videos, whether they're pre-launch videos or sales videos. I had one, I sweat. Like, my pre-launch videos have been anywhere from, 15 minutes up to 55 minutes long. And it's just because of what I was trying to accomplish. The story I was trying to tell in those videos took different amounts of time. And I'll tell you what, when I had the video that was 55 minutes long, I was doing everything I could to cut that as much as I could. Even, I put in all kinds of effort just to take like 30 seconds out of it. So it was like 54 minutes and 30 seconds instead of 55 minutes. So I'm always trying to make it as concise and compact as possible, but I'm not going to sacrifice the story. I'm not going to sacrifice making a good video. There's this old saying in copywriting that your copy can never be too long, it can only be too boring. So as long as you keep your video tight and engaging, and you make it as compact as you can to tell your story and make your offer, that's fine. Now, that being said, I'm going to give you some guidelines here to maybe shoot for. So if you're just starting out, I would aim for the 10 to 20 minute mark. And then once I get some experience, if you get some experience, you can feel free to go up to 35 minutes. Most of my sales videos these days have been in that 27 to 30 minute range. That seems to, for a high-end, high-dollar product, like Product Launch Formula, that's what it takes me to get it done. So you can go up to there. Now, that being said, I came out with my Seed Launch Deep Dive course, which was basically an additional course just on seed launches. I went really deep on seed launches. And that one, I think I got that sales video done in somewhere between 7 and 8 minutes. So I'm not always going to make a 27-minute video just because I can. So continuing on, once you really become expert, maybe go up to 40 minutes. And if you become just an amazing Uber pro, you can go up to 50 minutes. And the reason why more experience can go longer is you have more experience at staying engaging and not being boring. And you know, the thing is just because you're an Uber pro doesn't mean you make a 50-minute video. Like I said, I mean, I would consider myself either an expert or an Uber pro, and mine come in usually for a big product like Product Launch Formula, 27 to 30 minutes long. It seems to be what I've been doing. But like I said, for that Seed Launch Deep Dive course, we got it done somewhere between 7 and 8 minutes. So I'm going to make it as tight as possible. But there's just some rough guidelines for you. Now I've got a few notes, a few notes for you to follow here. One thing is, do not assume that your viewer watched your pre-launch content. Your sales video needs to be complete. In other words, if in your pre-launch video you basically explain why this is so important, and you explain about the transformation, how their life's going to change, and you just can't start off the sales video saying, okay, now I'm going to give you this product with this widget and this stuff, and it costs this amount of money. You can't do that. You have to tell the complete story of your offer and your product and the transformation before you go through and you make your offer and you reveal the price and all that stuff. So don't assume that they watched your pre-launch content. A lot of them, they might have gotten a link, they might have even clicked on a link, but they didn't watch it all. Or they just never saw it. You know, those emails got lost, or they were, you know, offline and out of touch or whatever. So your sales video needs to be complete. You need to paint the transformation. By paint the transformation, I mean, make it real. Like think of it like there's a blank canvas and you're actually painting making a painting of how their life is going to be transformed. How you're going to take pain away from them, how you're going to give them more pleasure, how you're going to make their life easier, more convenient, more fun. Paint the transformation. Before you shoot the video, I really want you to think about and even meditate on how your product will transform their life. You know, how the value that they will get in their life immediately, in 3 months from now, 12 months from now, 5 years from now, how it's going to make them a better, happier, more fulfilled person. How it's going to make the people around them that they know even happier, make their lives better. What it would cost them to not have your product. What it would cost them if they bought someone else's product and that product was lousy and it ruined their life. So I need you to really just focus on how you're going to transform their life. And the reason I want you to do this is because I want you to shoot that video with all kinds of confidence and authority. I don't want you selling from your heels. I want you selling from power. I don't want you, you know, a lot of people, they think it's, you know, they have a hang up about asking for the money. And believe me, I was there as well. This is something I struggled with. You know, it was like when it came to asking for the money, I was a little squeamish years ago. But, you know, in doing the work, you know, I just focus on the amazing results that people get. I just look at Product Launch Formula and the thousands of lives that I have changed through my teachings. I think of people like Susan Garrett, like John Gallagher, who have grown their businesses enormously because they got my product. They have an incredibly different, much better life now that they wouldn't have had before. And I want you to be thinking about the same thing, about that transformation you're going to make. And then when you think about that, that's how you get passionate. And that's how you get powerful in your sales video. You need to speak with confidence. Don't be apologetic. Come out and tell them how their life's going to change and why they need to get your product. Look into the camera lens, but don't stare at it. You know, when you're talking to someone in a conversation, they are not locked on you, staring at you unwaveringly all the time. They're looking at you, but they're blinking their eyes. Sometimes they might like break your eye contact and look away for a little bit. Don't you feel free to do that. You should do that. You should be as natural as possible on camera. Don't talk too fast. sometimes people have this tendency to, like, once the camera goes on, they just, you know, your blood pressure goes up, your pulse goes up, and you start talking really fast. Don't talk too fast. You want to be understandable. On the other side, don't slow down intentionally. Don't go super slow. Some people think that you sound like you've got, you know, more authority if you talk really slow. No, it just sounds like you're trying to talk slow. So you just want to talk at your normal pace. Don't go too fast. Don't go too slow. And have high energy. You know, you need to have, and some people are just naturally lower energy, more relaxed. I'm a pretty relaxed person. But when you're doing that video, you think about that transformation, get pumped up, get passionate, move around, you know, change your state, get into a heightened state. Even if you know, jog in place, jump up and down for, I do that before I shoot every video. I just jump up and down in place for, you know, 10 or 15 seconds to just get my blood pumping so that I'm going to be high energy when I get on the camera. Okay, some mechanics about your video. You want to hide the buy now button until the call to action. So you don't want to, when they get to your sales video page and that video, you know, they're going to get there and that video is going to take a second or two to load, and you don't want a buy now button flashing up. In fact, you don't want it to flash up until you get to the point in your sales video where you have made the offer, you told them what's in the product, you told them about the transformation, you told them about the bonuses, you do the risk reversal where you talk about your guarantee. Then you say what the price is, and at that point you pop up your button, and the actual buy now button, the add to cart button. That's when you want to pop it up. Is once you basically make your offer, you tell them what the price is, and you say go ahead and click now. You want that button to pop up. And the technology to do this is very, very simple. If you go to Lead Pages, you know, which I highly recommend, they have this built in so you can set exactly when that button pops up. Now, on the last day of your launch, you don't want to hide that buy now button, because at that point, the people going to your sales video have probably already been there a couple times. They've already checked it out. They've been thinking about it. And now when they go, they're ready to buy. They don't want to sit through that sales video again. So this is, you pop that button up right away on that last day. I usually maybe 10 seconds into the video. I just want to give the video enough chance to start playing, and then I'll pop that button up. You want to test hiding the video controls. The video controls, in other words, that allow people to scroll backwards and forwards. You want to test whether you want to hide them or not. I mean, this is sort of advanced, but it's something to consider. And then when you're near the end of the launch, when you're in the last starting on the day before you close, you want a banner up at the top of your sales video that says we're closing tomorrow, or we're closing in 24 hours, or we're closing Tuesday at midnight. So you want to put that scarcity banner up there at the top of your sales video, up on top of it. Just a nice banner, you know, red, that says we're closing tomorrow. You want to pay attention to your checkout page. And, you know, so that is, you want to just don't throw up any old checkout page. You make it look good. Pay attention to the text. Pay attention to exactly, you know, what the buttons say. You know, in other words, the checkout page is important. So pay attention there. And remember, just to sell from power and authority. Don't sell from your heels. Don't sell from your heels.
Okay, so now let's talk about your sales page. And this is where your sales video or your sales letter or a combination of the two is going to live. This is once you open cart and you've gone through your pre-launch, it's time to open cart and it's time to start taking orders. Yeah, baby, this is it. This is where we actually open cart. This is what we call this period. Once you've gone through your pre-launch, next comes open cart. And during your open cart is when you have the sales page. Now, the thing to remember is that in the perfect world, people will be completely sold by your pre-launch, and they're just going to be, they're just going to be standing in line with their credit card ready to buy. And if you've done everything right and you've really nailed your pre-launch, there's going to be some people like that, but not everyone's going to be like that. And that's why you need to have a strong sales video or sales letter, and that's going to draw people in and get them to crack open their wallets. So the really big thing to remember right here, we've got it. The number one thing to remember is it's not about your stuff. It's not about what you're giving them. It's about the transformation. Okay, so in terms of developing your sales message, this is really where I come from. Like these questions will really put you in the state of really thinking about your avatar or your prospect and how their life is going to change and how you want to communicate to them. So what is their biggest problem, or what's their biggest problem, their biggest struggle that they have? Why are they having that problem? What is the problem costing them? And I like to think about what's it costing them right now? What's it costing them in 3 months? What's it costing them in a year, in 5 years, and 30 years? You know, when I'm selling Product Launch Formula, it's really easy for me to think about all the people that are either about to start a business because of Product Launch Formula, or they're going to grow their business dramatically. And the thing is it's not like a one-time deal. It's not like you start a business and it's, yay, oh, I just made, $10,000 or $100,000 or whatever. It's they're going to keep on making that money next year and the year after and the year after and the year after. They're going to have a thriving business. It's not like someone's just going to come in and they've got a business that's doing $150,000 a year and they're all of a sudden going to add another $50,000 or $100,000 to their business. It's not like it's a one-time deal. They're going to keep on doing that. So walk forward, at least in your mind. You don't have to communicate all of this, but as you're getting ready to create your sales video or your sales letter or the script for your video, these are the things you want to think about to put you in the state of creating the best, most powerful message. So what's this problem costing them? Why can't they solve the problem on their own? And what are some of the most common mistakes that people make who are trying to solve this problem? What are some of the biggest misconceptions about the problem? How would someone fix or solve this problem? And how does your solution tie in? And then how will their life be better? And how will the people around them, their lives be better? Their family members, their friends, their children, their grandchildren. These questions, I'm just trying to get you to focus on your avatar and what their problem is and how you can solve it. Now, I like to split things down into people are either avoiding pain, they're moving away from pain, or they're moving towards pleasure. So they might not have like this screaming problem, but you're just simply going to make their lives better. But all these questions will still apply even in that case. So here's a framework I like to use when I'm thinking about creating a sales message, a sales video, a sales script, a sales letter. And first of all, you want to start off with a headline. And in the headline, you're typically describing the big benefit. How is their life going to change? Then you want a subhead in general to describe the problem and the main benefit of the solution. Now, if you're doing this as a video, you want to think in terms of the headline is going to be like sort of that first big statement that you make. So you might not have the classical headline like you would see in a sales letter, but what is that first big promise that you're going to make in your sales video? And then as we get down into this sales message, what's the big promise, the big hook? What's in it for the viewer? What's in it for your avatar, your prospect? And then you want to share the opportunity and the transformation. Now, this is a lot of the work you've already done in PLC 1 and PLC 2. What is that big opportunity? What's the journey? How's their life going to change? Are they going to be able to play songs on the guitar? Are they going to be able to take X number of strokes off their golf game? Are they going to be able to build a meditation practice? How is their life going to change? Then you want to share your authority, because without authority, it's genuinely hard to sell. Authority is what makes people believe you. Then you want to think about proof and testimonials. And then, we're getting, and this is going to take up the bulk of, or at least the first 50% of your sales video or your sales letter or your sales script. Then you want to foreshadow urgency. So you're going to foreshadow the idea of this is going to be a limited offer, because your open cart period is only going to be for a certain period of time. And after your open cart period ends, then the deal they get is not going to be as good, or they might not even be able to get the deal. So you want to just foreshadow that. Then you want to make your offer. And this is where you cover the benefits and the features. What the product does, who it's for, how it's going to transform your prospect's life for the better, what makes it different from other products in the market. And in this case, generally, I'm not a big fan of comparing my product to other products head to head. I don't, that naturally take you down the road of criticizing other products. Not a big fan. I like to, by this point in the launch, if someone's still with you, they've gone through the PLC, they're still with you, they have at some level bought into your ability to solve their problem. And in that case, I sort of want to sell like I'm the only solution in the marketplace. So if you are going to compare in here, then I tend to do it, somewhat obliquely. It's not like I'm actually naming the other products. I'm just talking about the things that make my product superior, a superior solution to anything out there. Then there's how does it work? This is some details. There could be a story around how you discovered this or how you made it, how it came to be, the origin story. You can give some statistics, some proof, some unique characteristics, why it was created in the first place, what are the deliverables? And by deliverables, I mean this is what people actually get. So I stressed very strongly, a few minutes ago, how it's about the transformation. It's not about the stuff. But at some point, you do have to talk about what the stuff actually is. What's the form that it takes? Is it, online video? Is it DVDs? Is it a widget? What is it? What is it? So, this is something that comes after you've covered the transformation. And when you're talking about it, if you can build in the transformation and that every piece allows, so much the better. Then, just the details of how and when they actually get it, how it's going to be delivered. Then you want to cover any bonuses. And I love to add in bonuses, and this is a key, this is an advanced thing, is I love to add in bonuses that answer objections. So for instance, for Product Launch Formula, one of the biggest objections is I don't have a list. So I created a list building course, and that comes as a bonus with Product Launch Formula. So the beautiful thing about this is that bonus answers the objection, plus as you're talking about the bonus, you get to answer the objections. And then you want to raise and answer the objections. You're doing that all the way through pre-launch. You also have to do it in your sales message as well. So the price reveal comes down here. It's after you've built all the value. You can't, if you walk onto, a Ferrari dealership, they don't have the price blazed on, it's not in huge numbers on the windshield. That's just not, not the way it works. With a higher end sale, you have to establish the value before you reveal the price. And that's what you absolutely have to do. You want to talk about your price comparison, justification, for less than a cup of coffee a day. That's what this is going to cost you. You do want this is a place where you have to cover in detail what are the payment methods, what is, if there's a payment plan, what that payment plan is, how often the payments are due and for how long and how much they are. And then you tell them what to do. Click the button, fill out the form, and then this will happen. Now in here you want to, then this is where you deliver on the scarcity, on the urgency. And, there can be all kinds of different ways to do this. You could have a quantity limit, like on how many are available, physical limit on how many are available. Like if you've got a seminar, it's just natural. That seminar is going to come and go, and there's probably going to be a limited number of seats. If it's a physical product, maybe you only have a certain number available. It could be a workload limit. You can only work with so many people at a time. You could do fast action bonuses. The first X number of customers get this extra bonus. What we use in Product Launch Formula is a schedule limit. It's like we have, we run a class. So it's time, the class is about to get started. So get enrolled. Class is starting on Monday. And then, you could just have a deadline that we are pulling the product off the market. So in general, when you're talking about urgency, there's three big ones that it sort of falls into. Is that either the product is coming off the market, the price is going up, or bonuses are going away. Those are the three real big ones. And again, product is coming off the market, price is going up, bonuses are going away. And I'll tell you what, the most effective of those is the product's coming off the market. But you might not want to pull your product off the market. But the thing is at the end of your open cart period, something has to happen so the deal is not as good after that open cart period. Absolutely critical. So then after you go through the urgency, whatever it is, and it could be a combination of any of these, anything I mentioned, it doesn't have to be just one. Then you have your call to action, which is you ask for the sale. You ask them to go ahead and click the buy button. And I do have here, you can test different, the different text for the actual order button. And that can definitely impact your conversion. So that's a good thing to test. Then at this point, I like to go with risk reversal and then a surprise bonus. So what I'll do is a call to action. Then I'll do the risk reversal, which is a guarantee. And then come in with a surprise bonus, and then a reclose. And you don't have to do the surprise bonus. I don't always do that, but you absolutely have to do the call to action, the risk reversal, and then a reclose. And this is where you revisit that scarcity and why they have to act right now. If you want to, after that, you can come in with some more social proof, which would be testimonials, blog comments, the number of people who've bought, the results they've gotten, anything like that. And but then if you do that, you do want to come in always at the end, a final call to action, a final call to order. That should always be the last thing out of your mouth when you go to close your video, close your sales letter.
Okay, let's talk about sales strategies, specifically during open cart. So these are just some sales strategies that we've developed over the years that you can use that will increase conversions during your launch. Remember, lots of people see the launch, they see putting out 3 pieces of pre-launch content, and then they just think that, boom, it's done. But really, your open cart is a sequence, and these are some of the things you can do during your sequence to help improve your results. So I'm all about having something to mail every day. During your open cart period, you want to mail the people on your launch list every single day. And it's nice if you have new things to mail to them. Like at the beginning, it's just we're open. At the end, we're closing. But in between, it's great to have something to mail. So here's just some ideas. There's lots and lots of different things you can do. But one of them I love to do is a case studies page. So this is what our case studies page, this is a recent version of our case studies page, what it looks like. And I'll make it just a little bigger for you. So it's simply, we've got a countdown timer up at the top. And this image was taken when there was just an hour left in our open cart, but this is just a big long scroll of all kinds of case studies. And so you can do whatever you want here, but just one case study after another, after another, after another, and they just keep on going for quite a long ways. Obviously, we've got a lot of case studies. If you don't have a lot of case studies, then don't use them. This is something that hangs up a lot of people. They're like, well, I don't have case studies. Well, there are other ways to get proof, other ways to build the social proof and to build the proof. I've got them, so I use them, but you don't have, this isn't something you have to do. This is something that's great to do if you've got this asset. Remember, all through this course, I focused on using whatever assets you have. This is an asset I have in my business. Now, one thing I want to point out, we have just a little bit of text up at the top, which hopefully encourages people to scroll through and find the ones that they think apply to them the best. And then you'll note a link below each one that goes over to the sales page or the sales video. So that's what you want. You want people to come here. You want them to pick and choose and find the ones that they like, that resonate with them, and watch them. But you always want to have this opportunity to click on over to go check out your sales video or sales message. Another thing that we like to do, let me minimize this, is an all access page. So this is a page that has all your pre-launch material on one page. So we've got all our pre-launch videos here for people to watch, again, with a link to click on over to get more details at your sales page. So again, this image was captured with just under an hour to go in our open cart. This page can be super effective if you're doing a joint venture launch, because what we do with this is we put this page together so our partners can mail on this page with no opt-in in front of it. And for me, for our launches, our partners do love to mail on this page, because this is like an extra gift they can give to their people. It's like, hey, go check out this awesome free content, and you don't even have to opt in for it. So really love to do our all access page, especially in joint venture launches. Another thing you could do is put out an additional video, an additional piece of content. We'll often do that during our cart week. Often do a live broadcast, and you can pick whatever you want, whatever tool you want to use. You can do that on Facebook, you could do it on Instagram, you could do it on YouTube, you can do it, there's all kinds of places you can do live broadcasts, but you can just do a live broadcast. I usually don't like to do that on the closing day, maybe the day before your closing day, because on closing day, all roads lead to the sales page. So I don't like to muddy the waters by giving them a link to go watch a live broadcast on closing day. So maybe the day before closing day or 2 days before closing day. And this is, you do the live broadcast, you email out to your launch list that I'm going to do a live broadcast. Often in cart week, that live broadcast is focused on answering questions. So it could be a Q&A. And then another one you could do is what we call an unboxing or a product tour. So this could be, even if it's an online, if you're selling an online membership site, that's a great time to do a little screen capture where you go through the membership site and you show people what they can get. If it's a physical product, you can actually do an unboxing and show what it looks like. If it's an online course, you could go through the different modules and show what's coming. If it's going to be a live event, you could actually go to wherever the hotel, whatever the venue is, and walk through it and just talk about it. So lots of different ways you can do this, but it can just be a nice thing to add into your cart week. Another thing you want to pay attention to is your checkout page. So this is the page, once people are on your sales video or your sales letter, that they click to actually go to the page where they fill out their information and check out and order your product or service. So we have added a live chat component. We use livechatinc.com, and this is one of those deals, you've seen this on other checkout pages, where there's a little icon on the page where they can click it to actually have a live chat. So in our last launch, our team answered 2,206 chats with a 97% satisfaction rate. Now, you might look at that and say, oh, wow, I can't handle 2,000 chats. But you just have to remember that I'm playing at a pretty big multi-million-dollar scale, And if you have a smaller launch, you're probably not going to have 2,000 chats. But when we go back and look at how did those chats convert into sales, it was very, very high. Very, very high rate of conversion. Another thing you can do is have a countdown timer on the top of your checkout page. I don't recommend doing this until your last 48 hours, because if you do it before that, I believe that you just give people a reason to procrastinate. But then in your last 36 hours. So if we're closing our cart on Friday, then on Thursday morning, we'll put that countdown timer on the top of our checkout page and our sales page. And then you need to think through your payment options. This is really part of your offer. It's not really a sales strategy during cart week, but I just thought I'd throw this in here because, yeah, lots of times people, well, you will absolutely make more sales if you give some type of a payment plan. Absolutely, 100%, you'll make more sales. Now, those additional sales, I mean, there is a negative to that because you will not generally collect all the payments in your payment plan. And the people that buy through a payment plan will tend to refund at a higher rate. They tend to be just to make a broad generalization, your absolute best clients will generally be the ones, and best meaning the ones that take the most action, get the best results, become your star students, become your case studies. Those folks tend to be the single pay people. But that doesn't mean great people don't come in through the payment plan as well. So this is a business decision whether you want to have a payment plan, but you will make more sales. It just comes with a few more headaches. For abandoned cart strategy. So this is, you will have a lot of people that watch your sales video or read your sales letter, click on the link to go on over to your checkout page and not actually check out. In fact, the majority of people will go there, and I don't know if it's a curiosity thing or what, but the majority of people will click on over there and they will not actually buy. Now, in these days, the shopping cart systems have gotten so sophisticated that many of them allow you to actually track who has gone over there and actually tag those people. So you can actually, if someone clicks on over, if you set up your tagging right, you can actually track that and know what email addresses of what people have clicked on over to your order page and not bought. These are the people that have abandoned your cart, abandoned the shopping cart. And so we put together an email sequence that went out specifically for those people. And we ended up making 6 figures in sales just from that short little mini sequence of emails that went out to the people that abandoned cart. And let me show that to you right now. You can see it's just 3 simple emails. This is just the way we organize our copy for my team is we'll use Google Documents, and up at the top we just have this little table so you can see there's only 3 emails, and here's the 3 emails. We actually had a 4th and a 5th email that we didn't end up using, but here it is. It's just a super simple email. It just says, this is the first email that goes out. It says saving a spot for you. Real quick, I noticed you got part of the way through registration for Product Launch Formula. This is just a note that lets you know we've got a spot for you. When you're ready, you can pick up where you left off, and then we give a link to click through. And if you have any questions, we've got live chat available all week long. And then a PS, I put up a quick summary of everything you get at this page, which sends them to this page we call our summary page, which just details everything in the offer. So it's really, really simple. If you look at it, it really doesn't amount to anything. It just says, I mean, literally, these don't really say anything. It's just that I noticed you went through it and you didn't register, and we've got a spot for you. Well, duh, we're in a launch. Yeah, of course we got a spot. And then pointing out that we do have live support. So incredibly simple. There's really no meat to this one. The second one, if they didn't react to that, did something happen? I see that you didn't complete your registration. I want to make sure you get your spot. Here's the link. And then here. And then we gave them a link. Instead of telling about live chat, in this one we gave a link to customer service. And then this next one, did you see this? Again, there's nothing really here. Did you see this? And this is a scarcity one. This is one we're sending right out at the end, right? You know, in the last closing day. We're closing doors very soon. And really, all this is this is a recopy. All we did was we took this copy. Actually, I guess we took this copy We took a copy from the first one and we repeated it down here. We made it a little bit shorter, but there was just, did you see this? And I just wanted to make sure you saw this earlier email, and here's the earlier email. And we did cut out the piece about the live chat in there, and we gave a link to the summary page, and that was it. So, I mean, you can see these emails were super, super simple, not much to them. Let's take a look at what they did, though. We've got an extra 65 sales. So here's the subject lines. We didn't actually end up sending these to, and I'm not sure how we got 2 sales from these. So maybe this is really only 61 sales, but yeah, here we go. That first one, we've got 36 sales. 36 sales came from that one, 16 sales from the second one, and 15 sales from the third one. So when you look at like how easy it was to put this copy together, was it worth it? Yes, it was absolutely worth putting that sequence together. You want to think about, and you want to think about this before you actually close, is what's going to happen when the cart closes, when your launch ends. When people click through the day after your launch closes, what's going to happen? And what you want is you want some kind of a program closed page with an opt-in form to register, because what will happen is you'll be getting elevated levels of traffic for a number of days and even a number of weeks after your launch closes. So you want to capture those people, because eventually you're going to have another launch, you're going to have another promotion, something's going to happen. Now, in my launches, my joint venture launches, where there's tens or hundreds of thousands or possibly even millions of emails going around from my partners, there's lots of people that aren't going to get around to clicking until after the launch is over. That's just the reality. You know, sometimes an email might sit in someone's inbox for weeks, and then they decide to open it and click on through. So you want some type of a page to capture those opt-ins once they come on over to your page. And then finally, I want to talk about reopen strategies. So a lot of people will have a reopen from their launch. So they go through their cart week, they open it, or however long. I typically will do a 5-day open. You'll open it, 5 days later you close it, and then a lot of people the next week or a few days later, they will have a reopen. And so there are pros and cons to this. In general, I really don't care for doing reopens, because if I go all out and I tell people the cart is closing and I send 3 or 4 emails on closing day, then it just really feels disingenuous to a couple days later say, oh, we decided to reopen. And so you're basically training people that, you know what, you really don't have to buy at the end of the cart, because there's going to be a reopen. And so a number of years ago, it seemed like it became sort of a standard that people were doing reopens, because the positive doing a reopen is that you will get about 10 to 15% more sales with no extra work. So the next week, you say, maybe you close on Friday or whatever day of the week, then the next Tuesday you can send out an email that says, hey, tomorrow we had a few more spots open up or whatever. We'll talk about that in just a minute, but we're going to reopen, and we're going to be taking new people for 24 hours or something like that. Again, I don't like to do this. I really don't like to do it. I really, really don't like to do it. It feels disingenuous, dishonest. But sometimes, like a couple of years ago, we had massive shopping cart problems. Our shopping cart provider just really had serious problems on our closing day, and we had a lot of people that couldn't buy. So in that case, we actually did do a reopen. So I talked a little bit about pros and cons. Pros is you make more money. Cons is that I think it's, at the end of the day, unless there is a legitimate reason, I just think it's pretty disingenuous. And it trains your list and really the universe that, he or she, they're not dead serious about their deadline. You can just don't bother with that deadline. You always get in later. So I'm not a big fan of it. So if you do, you need a reason why. I think you need a legitimate reason why. I think something like technical issues at the end of your cart, I felt completely justified a few years ago when we did that, because people couldn't get through. So what we did was we only emailed the people who were actually on our sales page on the last day. The people that we knew were directly impacted, because a lot of them, when they clicked through the order page, they couldn't get through to the order page because of our technical issues with our shopping cart provider. So we had a real reason, and we told people the reason in our email, and then we opened up for about a 24-hour period. We made about like the typical between 10 and 15% more sales. Partners. Are you going to invite your partners to go ahead and promote? And again, This is, if you ask your partners to go in a joint venture launch, if you ask your partners to go out all crazy for your close, and then you turn around and say, oh, by the way, we weren't really super serious about that close, so why don't you email this week? Well, you could do that, but we don't ever do that. Again, it's a long run thinking. I don't want to create this this reputation of someone who just your deadlines aren't serious. Then timing. Generally, when we do a reopen, it's just for a day or maybe 2 days, and it's maybe the next week. And yeah, so for timing and duration, maybe it's 3 or 4 days after the original close, and it's only for 24, maybe 36, maybe 48 hours in duration. So be really careful with the reopen. I'm super, if I haven't given you an impression yet, I'm super not a fan of them, don't like them at all. But sometimes if there's a legitimate reason, it can be a cool thing to do.
Welcome to the secrets of leverage and scale. So what this training is all about is about growing your business. And more importantly, growing your business without growing the time that you spend in your business. So this isn't about getting on a treadmill and working harder and harder and harder and harder and harder and trying to make more money. It's about the opposite of that. It's about continuing to make more as you spend less time in your business and you spend less time doing the things that you don't love to do. What is leverage? And we're going to be talking about these two things, leverage and scale. And they're very interrelated. They're very similar, but they're a little bit different. So let me just tell you what they are. So leverage is this idea of, it's the idea of a lever. You have a lever. There's a phrase that small hinges swing big doors. So like, what are those hinges? What are those small tweaks that you can make in your business that will create a big impact? And that will create a great big impact without you putting in a lot of extra time. So I'm mostly focused, there's lots of different type of leverage. There's financial leverage. I'm going to be talking about time leverage, specifically your time leverage, so that you can create greater results without putting in a lot of extra time. So that's what this whole idea is. It's like, where can you put in a little bit of time? Either it's a one-time effort, or it's a small amount on an ongoing basis, and create lots of results. So that's what leverage is. Now, scale is this idea of where it can continue to grow, where your business can grow, and it has a big runway where it can just get a lot bigger, continue to get much, much bigger. So there's things that will scale and things that won't scale. And there's things that have leverage and things that inherently won't have leverage. If you're coaching people one-on-one, that is inherently not a leveraged business. And it's also not a scalable business either. Not until you can replicate yourself and start to train other people to coach with your methodologies, so you can hire coaches. And now you can start to get leverage. And it can start to scale. There are levels of scale. Like if you look at my current business as I record this, I teach people how to launch their products and services. It's a very leveraged business because I'm selling online training. So I could double the number of people that take my program, and it does not double the work. It would increase some of the customer service, but that in the overall scheme of things would be a relatively minor cost. So you could double sales and increase the efforts of my team maybe 10%. So that's inherently a leveraged business. Having a digital product makes your business leverage. And we'll get much deeper into all of this. I'm just sort of giving you the introduction to leverage and scale. Now, my current business will scale to some level because more and more people are interested in starting online businesses. The entire space is getting bigger. The idea of online education is exploding. And so there's going to be more people that want to get into that business of providing online training. So that will scale, but it probably won't scale like Google will. And it probably won't scale like if I was selling like a product on how to lose weight, that would have a much, much bigger audience.
many of the things, so now this is an important piece. Leverage and scale are very intertwined. Many of the things that will give you leverage will allow you to scale, and many of the things that will allow you to scale will give you leverage. So they're very, very intertwined. They're not the same, and I hope you get that as I walk through this. They're not the same, but they are very, very intertwined. And you have to think about what you want to scale and what you want to leverage. So for instance, this is one that, this is an important point that a lot of people miss. So I have this program called my Platinum Plus program. It's a high-end mastermind. Currently, it costs $30,000 to join that program. I only have 50 spots available in it. I don't have a ton of time into that every year. So it is leverage. It's a leverage thing, but it won't scale because I only have 50 spots. And over time, I do raise the price. And maybe by the time you hear this recording, it might cost a lot more than $30,000, but it's not going to scale in a huge way. So that business it's leveraged. I certainly make a lot of money for the amount of time I have in it, but it's not really going to scale. So you think, or the dollars aren't really going to scale. Let's put it that way. The dollars don't scale, but the impact on my business does scale, because that Platinum Plus mastermind isn't just a mastermind for the people in the program. It's also a mastermind for me. And it now has many of the top leaders, thought leaders, experts in my industry. And by being around them, I not only get the benefit of their ideas in the mastermind, but I also get their energy and their enthusiasm, and frankly, them pushing me to continue to level up my skills and capabilities and performance and results. And so if I look at my business, since I started that Platinum Plus Mastermind, and it's been 7 years now, I'm closing in on tripling my business. And that triple, that's every year. That's not just one time. So if I look at the value that program has brought to me, in addition just to the dollars coming in, it has pushed me to, it's been 7 years and I've increased my business this huge, it's been many, many millions of dollars in that my business has grown. And I attribute it to a large degree to what that program pushes me to do and what that program's provided me. So it doesn't scale in terms of direct dollars, but it scales in terms of overall business growth and, frankly, the joy I get out of my life, because I really love being around the people in Plus. So there's an example of something that you do think. I want you to think on multi-levels on this. Don't just think about dollars, or don't just think about impact. When you're looking at a program, think about what else it can bring you. Like when I look at a program, I'm thinking about, okay, what are the dollars this can bring in? What's the impact I can make? But also, what can I learn? Am I going to have fun? Does this have strategic value beyond just this project? Will it set me up for other bigger projects? Are there more leveraged projects? Are there more scalable projects? And then finally, I want to leave you in this intro on one idea, and that's this idea of unique ability. And that's something I learned from Dan Sullivan. And unique ability is this idea of, it's something that that when you're doing it, time just disappears. You're so uniquely good at it, let's call it your genius zone. You're so fantastic at it that time almost seems to disappear. It's just effortless for you to do, but other people are amazed at how you can do it. And if you can pare back your involvement in your business so that you are increasingly spending more time in your unique ability, that right there is true leverage. That is true leverage. And ultimately, it'll probably bring you to scale as well.
Hi, this is Don Crowther, one of your PLF coaches. Let's talk about bonus strategies. So a bonus is something that you offer free to someone who buys your particular product. They can help you sell your course. They can help the perceived and, frankly, the real value of your offer. And they can help people to actually achieve transformation. Now, one of the reasons why it's very important to look at bonuses is that bonuses can become a good stack of bonuses can actually double, triple, quadruple your actual sales of your program. And so we want you to, number one, offer bonuses, and number two, think through those bonuses carefully so that each bonus is carefully selected to increase your sales and to improve their transformation that they end up receiving as a result of taking your particular program. And so it's worth thinking about these very carefully and analyzing. They're part of your offer, your course and your price, but then you add on top of it the bonuses can literally be the thing that pushes people from being well, I can live without this, to, yes, I definitely want to buy this. Click here to buy. Okay, so let's look at some criteria of what makes a great bonus. One of the things is a great bonus addresses objections that people have to your course. So, for example, with Product Launch Formula, one of the things that people have as an objection when they're considering buying that, one of the things that holds them back from buying it, is they say, hey, I'm going to need a list to launch to, and I don't have a list. So therefore, what I'll do is I'll go build a list, and then I'll come back and buy your product later. All right? Well, so what Jeff did is he looked at that and he said, how can I solve that objection? And so he created a bonus called Launching Your List, which then takes care of that objection and says, hey, you don't have to go do that. I'm going to give you that training right here as one of the bonuses for the course. Next, a great bonus fills a gap or a perceived gap in the information that they're providing. So Product Launch Formula again, people oftentimes ask, hey, does PLF teach me how to create a product? And so Jeff created his product creation code, which literally teaches you, walks you through step by step, all the pieces necessary to create that product. So now people have a product as part of buying Product Launch Formula. They have a product that they can actually launch by going through this particular bonus. What else? A great bonus is relevant. So there are many different bonuses you can put out there. The more relevant, applicable, helpful to what it is they're actually trying to achieve, the more valuable that bonus will be to them. Next, a great bonus helps your positioning as an expert. In fact, as the expert that they want to pay money to help them solve their particular problem. Next, a great bonus expands on or deepens a topic. So let's say your product teaches them a system, do these 5 things to achieve this result. Well, they may look at it and say, but I think I really need to understand a little bit more about step 4 of that. Well, a bonus can teach, expand, and deepen on that step 4. And so it can solve that particular problem. Are you noticing that many of the things that I'm talking about are the bonuses can help to cause people to go just that little extra step that pushes them over from maybe buying to I'm absolutely buying to, because your bonuses solve those little things that they think they still need to have in order to be comfortable buying your product. What else makes a great bonus? It shortcuts their results. It makes it easier for them to achieve the result that they want to, or it helps them get to the transformation that they want to faster. So it can make it easier, or it can make it faster. And also a great bonus can actually lead to a future offer. So you sell them this, and then later on you're going to sell them that. Well, maybe a bonus can help push them in the direction of that second sell that you really, really want to make to them. And this is one of the things that I really love, is it makes them so excited to get the bonus that they're willing to buy the product just to get that particular bonus. And one of the things I love to have anytime I'm putting together a bonus structure is I want at least one bonus that is something that people go, whoa, I want that so much. I'm willing to buy the product just to get that. I actually have a personal example of that. I listened to somebody do an amazing presentation for a product I already owned. And I went to the back of the room and I bought that product again, just because the bonuses that he offered for this particular sell were exactly what I wanted. So let's talk about what you put in the bonus versus in the course, because this is really key. What most people tend to do is they put everything that they think that could possibly be needed in the course. And in doing that, they lose out on the opportunity to build a great stack of bonuses that will cause people to want to buy the product just to get it. And so the rule is, if it's not essential to achieving transformation, it's a bonus. The key operating term in that sentence is essential. So it can be something that's nice to have, something that contributes to it, but if it's not one of the essentials, it's a bonus. What I like to do is I actually take every piece of the course, lay them all out on a piece of paper, and then I just take and start circling the ones that I can move over into bonuses. Because though they're great, they're not essential to achieving that transformation. And the beauty of putting it into the bonus is that it gives me another chance to talk about it and to sell people on buying the course because they're getting this. That's the beauty of breaking something out into a bonus rather than keeping it in the product. Because when it's in the product, it's just buried in all the stuff you get in the product. But once it's called out into a bonus, it gets talked about separately. And there's something in the human psychology that makes, oh, this is a free thing? I'm going to pay attention to that. All right. So bonuses can take several formats. Because I'm sure that there are some of you out there who might be thinking, well, what could I have as a bonus? So one of them is a personal consult or a one-on-one call. This is actually not my favorite bonus. It's an easy one to add, but the challenge is it can become very time consuming if your course does really well. And I only really like to add this if you have another purpose behind your one-on-one call. If it becomes something where you're setting people up to eventually sell them another product or something like that, it's not my favorite. It's always a great one. It helps to sell things, but it's not the first thing I tend to add. Next is Q&A calls or group coaching. Those are always powerful additions as bonuses for any program. A quick start program is it's one of my favorite because you literally can get people to achieving their transformation right out of the gate. The best courses are ones that within the first week, the first module, they've already started to achieve the transformation that they're looking at. Wow, you've got people just locked in. They're not refunded. They want to go through and get everything in the course because they've already gotten this amazing win. That's a great usage for a quick start program at the beginning as a bonus that can get people into it. And if you're selling in a launch kind of format, a quick start program is great because as your launch, let's say your launch is going to be open for 5 days. So someone who dies on day one, what are they going to do until, let's say, 7 days from now when your course actually starts? Well, you can have that quick start bonus available instantly as soon as they sign up. And so they can have gone through it. They're already happy. They haven't even started the course yet. And they've already started to achieve the transformation you're helping them to achieve. Next is a private community. Private communities can be great places where you can put people in as part of it. So this can be separate from your portal, but a separate community where people can talk amongst themselves, mastermind, get questions answered. All those kinds of things can be a really powerful bonus that can literally cause people to buy your program just to get that bonus. Especially if those things that you're offering in those done for you items are things they're going to have to do to achieve the transformation thereafter. Then if you give them pre-done templates of them, wow, it's like, whoa, I won't have to do that. I'll just be able to follow your system. Exactly. That's an amazing bonus. Next, and this is one of my favorite one, is a live event ticket, which gives you all kinds of ability to sell additional things to them, to bring them into the community, to get them more involved, to get them to finish the program before they come to the live event. Amazing things happen as a result of a live event ticket as a bonus. Another one is a standalone training or product. So as we talked about launching your list, or the product creation system. So those can be great bonuses because you're taking this, yet you're going to get this other training that'll help you to do this. Powerful bonuses. All right. So how do you use bonuses? So one way, and this is going to get advanced tactic. Hey, this is really cool. If you segment your list when they opt in, you can actually offer specific bonuses for each segment. So if one of the things that you do is you ask people whether they actually have a business, whether they've started one, and one of the buckets is, no, I've not started a business, then one of your bonuses could be the startup guide for that business. Now, someone who says they already have an established business, that startup guide isn't going to be very appealing to them. And so you may not even offer them that bonus. You'll only offer it to the people who are in that first bucket. Here's how Jeff did that. He's got his Operation Quick Start, his Launching Your Leverage, and the Launch Partnership. Different bonuses offering based upon where they are in their segmentation as they selected their segmentation as they opted in. All right. Next is use the launch conversations to actually identify what else to add during open cart if it's needed. So one of the things that for example, is we watched the Jeff do his sales strategy for PLF 2019. There were a couple of bonuses that were literally added the night before the cart opened, because as he watched the conversations, the questions that he was asked, the comments that were made in the PLC materials, it became very clear that there were a couple of other holes that he could fill with bonuses. And so we simply created a name for it and added it to the launch literally last minute. And so it was there as the launch opened up. All right. So when do you use bonuses? A key is at the time of open cart. So as people actually have as you have your sales message to them that opens your cart, that's when you present your bonuses to them. Hey, here's all these bonuses. You're going to want to get into the program because you'll get these bonuses, but only if you sign up by this date. Now, one of the things we want to caution you is to be careful with fast action bonuses. They can actually do things like close down your servers and make some people mad who didn't act fast enough and those kinds of things. And Jeff discusses that in the program. But just be careful as you use them. Okay. So you can use them in the sales videos. You can talk about them in webinars or live interviews during your open cart. And you can also actually add bonuses as you get closer to cart close. So this can be a reason for people to come back and relook at your product. So if you add additional bonuses during open cart week, and then a few hours from cart close to persuade those last minute buyers, people that may have come and looked already and decided not to buy, or they're hanging on for the last minute trying to make the decision, sometimes that extra bonus can push people over the edge. And of course, everyone gets everything regardless of when they sign up. So you don't want people to say, oh man, if I would have waited till the last minute, I would have gotten this bonus. You just, as you present it, you say, of course, everyone gets it no matter when they purchased. So, all right. So now it's your turn. Download the brainstorming bonus exercise and list out what you could offer in your next launch. And then let's go start executing those bonuses and creating an offer that is so amazing that people just can't say no.
Welcome to writing your open cart emails. In this lesson, you'll learn how to write emails for your open cart sequence and how to leverage your existing resources to make writing easier. You've already learned about the actual sequence of your emails in the open cart sequence lesson. And you'll find more guidance on when to send emails and what to include in those emails in the open cart action guide. Make sure you reference those as you're putting together your launch. We also have an exercise for you to work on to help you put all of your open cart emails together. So, first thing to remember about emails during open cart is that all roads lead to the sale. That means the underlying purpose of every email that you send is to get people to buy your product. So you'll need links and calls to action in each email. But purpose is only half of the story. You also need a reason to be emailing too, which we'll talk about very soon. You're going to be emailing every single day during open cart. On some days, you'll be emailing multiple times. And this may feel like a lot of emails, but remember that it is a proven formula. So just stick with it. And here's the other thing. It's not all buy. That's where those reasons we talked about earlier come into play. In the open cart sequence lesson, Jeff covered a variety of email types that you can send during open cart. And you'll find more examples in the action guide as well. All of these different type of emails are to give you reasons to be emailing every day during open cart. If you just emailed saying, buy my product every single day, it definitely won't take long for your audience to tune out from your messaging. By giving your emails purpose, like answering common questions, hosting a special live webinar, or introducing a new bonus, you're creating a genuine reason to be emailing your prospects, making them more likely to open, read, and click. Now, when it comes to creating the content for your emails, leverage what you've already got. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. Look at all the work you've put in so far around your sales messaging and your offer. Use that in your emails. You can take ideas or even direct text from your pre-launch content and sales page or your video. That ensures you're using consistent language between your emails and your sales page, which should be language that you've identified that resonates with your avatar. And as you create your emails, remember, it's not about the stuff. It's about the transformation. If you find yourself talking about stuff in your open cart emails, try to rephrase what you're writing to focus on the benefits or the transformation you're offering. Your sales video will be doing a lot of heavy lifting once people have clicked through, but you'll still need to repeat the messaging in your emails too. Okay, moving on to some specifics, namely subject lines, length of your email, when and how to include links, and some common mistakes to avoid. For your subject lines, much of what you learned in writing your pre-launch emails remains true. Keep it intriguing, make people want to click, and keep them short, ideally 40 characters. But in your open cart emails, you also want to balance direct subject lines with your more intriguing or mysterious subject lines. For example, for some emails, you might use more intriguing subject lines like, my family thought I was crazy when they heard this. But then you also want to include some more direct subject lines like, hey, registration is now open. Balance is the right word for the length of your emails too. Some emails, like when you first announce that the card is open, and the final last call email should be nice and short. But other emails will be longer, like if you included some extra teaching content within the body of the email. Just as with your sales video, your emails should be as long as they need to be and not a word longer. And don't forget to make the most of the PS section of your emails. That means adding a short PS at the end of your email. This is especially useful in long emails where people might skip straight to the bottom. If you find an email getting too long, consider linking out to content instead of including it in the email. But there's a caveat here. The content you're linking to should still direct them to purchase. For example, if you have a ton of FAQs, think about linking from your email to the FAQ section of your sales page, or even creating a dedicated FAQ page with a buy button directly on the page. That way, people can get their questions answered and then proceed directly to buy. And that's true for any links you include in your open cart emails. Remember, all roads lead to the sale. That means that any links you include should be to your sales page or another dedicated page you've created, which also has links for them to buy. For example, you might link to a case study page with testimonials, and on that page, below each case study, you'll have a link that takes people to registration. All right, let's end with a few common mistakes so you know what to avoid. Number one, not resending to non-opens. Just like you did with your pre-launch emails, you want to alter the subject line and resend emails to people who don't open the first one. That's what we mean when we say non-opens. Since you're sending a high number of emails during open cart, you'll want to identify the most important emails in your sequence that you'll also send to non-opens and plan carefully for when you'll send them. For example, you might resend your registration is open email early on day 2 for non-opens before sending your planned day 2 email. You see how you have to be strategic there? Number two, forgetting the purpose of each email. Even with everything you've learned so far, it's still too easy to accidentally dilute the purpose of an email. I'll say it again for fun. All roads lead to the sale. That means the purpose of every email is to get someone to buy. If you send an email on Tuesday saying, buy my new product and tune in tomorrow for a special live webinar, do you think anyone will buy your product on the Tuesday? Probably not. They'll wait for the webinar. Save the webinar announcement for a separate email and never confuse the messaging in a single email. Keep one thing per email. Mistake number three, not creating reasons to email. Remember that your emails need purpose and you need a reason to be sending that email. And you'll need to create those reasons by creating a new special bonus or creating a case study to send or by creating some new content to share. That's how you create a reason to send them an email. Number four, losing patience. A lot of your sales will come right at the end of your open cart period, literally on the last day, often in the final hours. So don't lose patience during your open cart. Yes, you need to keep an eye on what's working and what isn't and adapt accordingly, but don't make any spur of the moment, emotionally driven changes based on fear or panic. And number five, forgetting the mental triggers. All of your pre-launch content and your sales video is built on the mental triggers, and your emails need to be built on them too. So go through each of your emails with a fine-tooth comb and identify exactly which mental triggers you've included. And make sure you have a balance. If you only use scarcity in every single email, it will lose its effectiveness. Sprinkle some of the other triggers in there as well. So go ahead and start working on your emails. And be sure to scroll down and leave a comment for us and let us know if you have any questions or comments. Welcome to your Transformation Roadmap Part 2. In this lesson, you'll learn how to take your product outline, which we covered in Part 1, and break it down even further. This is where things will really start to come together. And the framework we'll show you will help you to get extreme clarity on what's important to include in your product. This will save you time and energy in the creation process and ensure you deliver a great result. Without this, you risk confusing your clients or customers by not taking them down the clearest and most direct route to the transformation. So let's get started. Essentially, what we're doing here is getting into the heart of your product. You have the main steps and you've identified the sub-steps. Now it's time to flesh out those in more detail. So we start with the overall transformation in mind and then ask, for each step, what do they need to know? And how do I share that information with them? To start, take each of your sub-steps and just do a bit of a brain dump of information. Just get everything out of your head onto paper for each of these topics. Then go back and think really critically about each thing you've listed. Ask, is this absolutely necessary for them to achieve the transformation? If not, you guessed it, scrap it. It can feel painful to do this, but you absolutely must ensure that your product is as effective and efficient as it can possibly be. You're Michelangelo working on the statue of David. You're not gluing bits of rocks to it. You're chiseling away, getting it to its final perfect form. So now you should have a list of things that you're going to cover in each lesson of your course or each chapter of your book or each monthly training for your membership product. The next step is to apply a tried and tested structure to the overall content. There are a lot of different teaching frameworks out there, but one that Jeff has found to be really effective is the why, what, how, and what if framework. The why is where you get across how what they'll learn and do will help them in their life or business. You're explaining why it's important and why they should pay attention. The what is the functional definition of the topic you'll cover, perhaps with some examples of what it is and what it isn't. In other words, this is what your clients or customers will be doing. The how is what you've already outlined, the actual content and strategies that they can take action on. The more actionable, the better. And finally, The what if can either be about the dangers of not taking action or getting it wrong, or it can be a prompt for them to experiment and see the opportunities ahead, or both. It's what if this happens, or what if you applied this, helping them visualize what's to come. The order of this isn't as important as making sure you address each of these questions in your content. So how do you apply this to your product? We've included a download to help you map all of this out. And your absolute final step is to review your entire outline and ask, is there anything else that can support my learners in their transformation? Consider where adding examples might help, or think about stories or metaphors that you can include to help bring your teaching to life. Also think about supporting resources like exercises or templates or visuals and note them in your outline. We'll cover supporting assets in more detail in a future lesson. So in this lesson, you learned how to map out your talking points for your product and about the why, what, how, and what if framework, and how to use it to ensure your product content follows a clear structure. The time you spend here will save you so many frustrations down the road. Dig into the worksheet provided and flesh out your product. But first, scroll down and leave a comment letting me know your biggest takeaway from this lesson.
Welcome to Creating Powerful Presentations. In this lesson, you're going to learn the 4 golden rules to creating presentations that really resonate, they connect, and they build trust and authority between you and your audience. Now, there's nothing worse than sitting through a boring presentation, and boredom doesn't exactly create the best conditions for learning. But by learning to present more effectively, you can deliver a much more transformational experience for your audience. That takes us on to rule number 1, speak with confidence. And this is a big one. If you want your presentations to connect with your audience, you need to show that you actually believe in what you're saying. And you do that by speaking confidently. Now, if you're not used to speaking publicly, or if you're a little more shy or introverted, this can feel like a big obstacle to overcome. But with a few simple tips, you can do this. Tip number 1, first, your posture. Simply reminding yourself to stand tall will immediately make you look and feel more confident and will come across in your presenting. Tip number 2, make eye contact. When presenting on camera, just as I'm doing right now, this means looking directly into the camera lens. And this can feel a bit awkward at first. So spend some time practicing before you actually hit the record button. The next tip is prepare to a level where you feel comfortable. Rehearse. The more prepared you are, the more confidence you'll have. Think of it like a musical performance. If you've practiced a piece 1,000 times in a row with no mistakes, you're free to focus more on the delivery when you're performing and not on trying to remember all the little notes. And listen, I'm not saying that you need to rehearse your script 1,000 times, or you'd probably never get any recording done. But you should know exactly what you're going to say so that you don't waffle, okay? Because speaking confidently often means getting to the point quickly. And a bit of a side note, sometimes over-preparing can actually be a hindrance. For example, if you script your presentation word for word, you might spend all of your time trying to remember all of the words and not so much focused on your presentation. And that takes us to rule number 2, which is tell stories. As we mentioned in an earlier lesson, stories make your presentations resonate with your audience. It gives them something to relate to. Think about how we've included analogies and examples throughout this course to help you see how theory works out in practice. Stories are not only relatable, but they're also memorable. When we talk with friends, most of the time we don't talk in facts or statistics, we talk in story. So use that to your advantage, which leads us to rule number 3. Talk to a friend. If you focus on sounding slick, professional, and polished, you often alienate your audience. Even though you are presenting, people don't like to feel like they're being presented to. They like engaging. So present as if you're talking to a friend. Don't get hung up on sounding professional. Just relax, take a deep breath. And that leads us to our final golden rule, which is to pace yourself. It's not a race. When you start presenting, you often feel like you have to get through all of your content as fast as humanly possible, as though if people will switch off or just stop listening if you're not going a million miles an hour. But a great presentation is like a great movie. There's often fast-paced scenes and slower-paced scenes. So record yourself presenting a few times and listen back. Are you talking too quickly? Maybe too slowly? You need to be energetic when presenting, but that doesn't mean going fast. Be energetic with how you speak and keep the pace steady. So in this lesson, you've learned how to create more effective presentations by following the 4 golden rules of presenting, which are speaking with confidence, telling a story, talking to a friend, and pacing yourself. Now, go below and leave a comment and let me know what is the best presentation that you've ever seen and why was it special to you.
Hi, welcome to Tools to Create Your Product. In this lesson, we're going to identify different tools that you'll need to create your product. There's so many different kinds of tools out there. It can be overwhelming to figure out which ones you actually need. Choosing the right tools can save you time and frustration when it comes to creating your product, but choosing the wrong tools can have exactly the opposite effect, derailing your plans and your motivation. That's what this lesson is about, making sure you know exactly what you need. By the way, I really like this one. Okay. Whenever we talk about tech, there's always the risk that the lesson will become just a long list of stuff that you feel you have to get. I'm going to do my best to avoid that and to keep this as succinct as possible, letting you know what you need and why you need it. I'm also going to walk you through the tools in the order that you'll need them, from creating your product materials through recording and editing your product, all the way through to hosting and selling of your product. Now, along with this lesson, there is an amazing download that has a list of all the different tools that we're going to talk about here and recommendations that you'll want to use. Bear in mind that you probably won't need all of these tools, especially not just as you're starting out. So don't panic if this sounds like a lot of stuff. Think about what you really need right now, get it, use it, and then as your business expands, then get more. All right, so let's talk about the individual tools you'll want. We'll start with creating your product materials, things like slides and worksheets. So for most of you, you're going to want to use slides to assist with your presentation. They tend to help by adding visuals to your lessons, reinforcing what you're teaching for people who prefer to see things visually. Now, there are lots of different tools for creating slides. We've listed a few in the handout, but pretty much any tool will serve the purpose. And by the way, some of them are even free. There's not a whole lot of differences between them, so use wisdom here. Next is images. So you want to find royalty-free images, audio and video to include in your presentations. Now, you should know that you can't just go to Google Images and grab any image and put it in there, because there's actual laws about who owns what images and who can use them. And so there are legal implications when it comes to using media in your presentations. You just can't grab them. And so what we've done is we've included in that beautiful handout I told you about a list of sites where you can find materials to use legally. Okay, but you should always check the terms of service for those pictures to make sure you're definitely clear to use any media that isn't your own in your lessons. If you're not sure, contact a legal professional. You'll also might want to create your own graphics and PDFs. Don't panic. This doesn't mean you need to become a Photoshop expert or spend a fortune on graphic designers. Thankfully, there are user-friendly online tools that you can use, some of them that are free, that we have listed in the handout. Another visual thing you may want to use is a whiteboard or a flip chart. So Jeff is a big fan of flip charts. You've seen them, and he used them really effectively to support his teaching. But if you don't have the capacity to record a physical flip chart, put one back here, since that usually means you're going to have better cameras and lightings and things like that, there are digital options available too, where you can write on your screen and capture it using screen capture software, which we'll talk about in a moment. And the final tool you may want to consider when preparing your product is a transcription tool. Adding transcriptions to your product can help support a wider range of learners, but doing so can get expensive. So there are different kinds of transcription services out there. Some of them use AI or artificial intelligence to take a transcription, but they're going to be less accurate. So you'll need to do careful proofreading to make sure that it captures words correctly. If you have the capacity to include it, that's great. But for most people, I view transcriptions as an optional extra. The first several courses I did not have transcriptions at all, so don't think of it as a must. But either way, you know where to find our recommendations on it. Now, when it comes to actually recording the video for your content, the first bit of tech you'll need is a screen capture software program. This will be, very frankly, essential for most of you. It allows you to record what's happening on your screen, whether that's slides for your presentation, like you're seeing right now. Right now, I'm using screen capture software. Or maybe you're using a specific program or application that you're using, like Photoshop, for example. Now, some programs allow you to record a camera alongside your screen, like you're seeing here on the screen right now. Hi. It's a great option to have, and some programs even have a built-in video editor, which is our next recommended piece of tech: video editing. Now, video editing tools allow you to take your recorded video and chop bits out. So when you make a mistake, or the phone rings, or somebody walks in your room, or some child's crying outside your door, or whatever, and also do things like add effects, like screen highlights or blurring out of sensitive information. There are simple free versions and more feature-rich paid versions. Even though you may not need the features of paid software, hey, sometimes you'll want to upgrade into those. And so it can be worth looking at, as they can have some time-saving features in their workflow. But again, don't get a professional level product if you don't have time to invest in learning how to use it, even at a basic level. The built-in editors that your screen recording software has already, in many cases, are plenty powerful enough. Now, once you've actually recorded and edited your videos and content, you'll need a place to host them and a way to package and sell your product. There's essentially three elements to this. The first is video hosting. Where do you actually upload your videos? Where do they live so they can be shown to other people? Second is what we call an LMS, or a learning management system, which is kind of like a website where you create the actual pages your students will see and structure your content there. And then the third thing is a shopping cart, so that you can actually process people's payments. There are many different options depending on your needs and technical ability, from plugins that you set up and run on your own website to all-in-one solutions that handle all three elements, plus a lot more, like your website and email marketing, etc. So let's give a couple of considerations that you will want to consider as you do this. So for example, do you need to be able to drip content? Secondly, do you need a membership area within the platform where people can do commenting, those kinds of things? Third, you need to be able to include quizzes. So that's an important part for some people, to measure how well people are grasping the concepts they're teaching. Other people, it may not be that important to you. Next, what sort of content will you include? Will you include PDFs, videos, text lessons, etc.? Make sure that whatever way you're doing it, that's capable in your system. And what options are there for interactivity or learning engagement in this process? So in this lesson, you've learned about the key tools that you'll need to create and sell your product, and what to consider for each of those tools. And again, an amazing handout comes with this. And so we encourage you to download that list of recommended tools and use it to identify the ones that you need to get started. Hello, and welcome to Supporting the Journey. In this lesson, you're going to learn how to create supporting assets for your product. So all the transcripts and worksheets and projects and all those cool things that enhance your customer's journey and experience. Supporting assets aren't just extra stuff that you just throw in to make your product seem fuller. They're essential parts of the customer experience. Done well, they can help your customers and clients better absorb and take action with your product. Done poorly, and they'll just overwhelm them, create a lot of extra busy work for you, and ultimately risk diluting the transformation that you've promised. So what is a supporting asset? Supporting assets can include a whole variety of things. And they're not just things that are supplemental to your product. They often form an integral part of it, especially if your product is an information product like a course, a membership site, or a coaching program. For example, let's just imagine that your course is an online course teaching Photoshop. And so what you might want to do is give them a specific type of photograph and actually give them the file that includes the photographic problem that you're demonstrating how to fix. So you may also need to have that project set up in a certain way with some effects pre-applied. And then that project can be something that they download, do the work. And so it literally becomes a supporting asset for your lesson. Let's talk about what types of supporting assets that you can use. It can be lots of different things like case studies. So maybe examples from your own experience or your customers or industry examples. And here, when I say case studies, I don't mean like testimonials. I mean, here's how we applied these principles to help this particular client get there. It can be planners or guides or exercises or workbooks or handbooks for your clients and customers to use in taking action with. You see that in Jeff's program. Excellent planners and guides in the process. It can be illustrations or pictograms, so specific graphics to help show what you're trying to do, and you'll obviously need to spend some extra time creating them. It can be things like animated videos, like GIFs demonstrating processes of how to do things. It can be infographics to demonstrate key facts or processes. Here's this step, and you go down that process. It can be plain text assets like web pages. It can be transcripts, which are always valuable. It can be ebooks. It can be physical kits. It can be audio downloads so they can listen while they're doing other projects. The key is that any asset that you create that supports or enhances the experience for your clients and customers can be an excellent supporting asset. Think about how your supporting assets might make your product more accessible or easier to absorb in other places. So a lot of people want to consume when they're on the move these days. That's when transcripts or audio versions of your product can come in handy. Some people enjoy reading as they feel they can get through content more quickly or more in depth. They want to mark things up, yellow highlights. Others prefer listening as they can listen while they're commuting, cooking, or doing what other daily tasks they need to complete. And so when you add the right kinds of supporting assets, you can make your course actually more accessible to people. Also, many of these assets can increase the perceived value to your product. People like to be able to download stuff. It makes them feel like they're getting something. Now, remember, the purpose of your supporting assets is to support, that's why they're called supporting assets, or enhance the transformation. Creating additional resources just because you feel like you should is a waste of your time and your clients and customers. At one point in my career, I felt like I needed to have a worksheet or a project for every single video in a program, and I hired somebody to do it. And I started going through them, and I go, wow, these don't add any value. So make sure that the things you put in really enhance, improve their experience, help them to get to that transformation. For example, if you are teaching a lesson on how to register a domain name for a website, a good supporting asset might be a few links to your most recommended websites for buying domains. A bad supporting resource might be something like a list of all the potential top-level domain names like .com, .org, .io, etc., with descriptions of each one and how to get it. That kind of information will take you a ton of time to put together, and hey, they can Google that if they really want to get to that kind of information. It doesn't really add value. Unlike showing them where to buy their domain, this is just giving them information about domains. That's probably not all that valuable. So we encourage you to choose carefully. Don't use your supporting resources to overwhelm people with stuff that they don't need. Even linking to a long list of additional resources can sometimes make people feel as if they're missing out or they're not getting what they need, or if they don't have time to go through all those resources. Be discerning in what you choose to include. Now let's talk about putting this into action. We have an exercise for you. Revisit your product outline that you created earlier and identify all the supporting assets that you'll need along the way in order to deliver that transformation and the results of your product. So in this lesson, you learned what makes an excellent supporting asset, including the types of assets to consider, how and why to include them, and some of the potential pitfalls you may want to avoid. Now, go ahead and leave a comment and let us know your biggest takeaway from this lesson.
Welcome to your Transformation Roadmap Part 1. In this lesson, you're going to learn how to outline your product and identify the key outcomes and steps your clients' customers will take as they consume or engage with it. A lot of people get stuck here as it feels like a monumental task, especially if you're creating an information product like a course or membership site. But when you have a process to follow, you'll see that it's really nothing to get overwhelmed by. Outlining your product is super important as you're essentially creating the roadmap that your clients' customers are going to follow to get to their transformation. And just like creating an actual roadmap, they're going to be much happier if your map not only gets them to their final destination, but it gets them there in the fastest way possible. It's important that at this stage, you keep your transformation statement front and center. Your statement, which you created earlier in the program, is going to be your guide at every step of the product creation process. So print it out, stick it on a Post-it note, or whatever else you need to do to keep it at the forefront of your mind. Remember, everything you include in your product should be targeting the problem you solve for your avatar. Let's say your transformation statement is, I teach health and fitness entrepreneurs how to find their first 1,000 subscribers. Something that does target that statement might be teaching them how to create an opt-in page. Something that does not target that statement might be teaching them how to brand themselves. Can you see how easy it is to lose sight of the transformation? You start teaching them about opt-in pages, you give them ideas of what to include and what not to include on that page. You start talking about the types of colors they might choose, and before you know it, you are teaching an entire lesson on branding. But will branding help them achieve the transformation you're offering of getting them to 1,000 subscribers? Probably not. Now, when it comes to outlining your product, the first thing to remember is that people don't want information. They want results. So we're essentially going to work backwards from your transformation statement to get them these results. So first, ask yourself, what steps does my client or customer need to go through to get from where they are now to completing the transformation that I'm offering? You want to aim for 3 to 6 main steps organized in a logical way. So let's say you're creating an online course. These steps will form the modules of your course. If your product is a monthly membership site, these steps could be the main phases you take your members through over the course of a year of delivering content or training. Let's say your product is a book. These steps could form the chapters. You see how that goes? From there, identify the sub-steps. Repeat the process above and ask, what 3 to 6 sub-steps do they need to go through to complete this main step and in what order? If creating an online course, these sub-steps become your lessons. If your product is a monthly membership site, these sub-steps could be the monthly trainings that you deliver. If you're creating some other type of product, think about how you could take this framework and adapt it to your situation. Including these steps and sub-steps throughout your product really gives your clients' customers a sense of achievement as they cross off action items and move closer to their transformation. And we have a worksheet to help you map out all of this. Let's have a look at an example in this practice. This is for an online course. We start with a transformation statement. Let's use the same one as before. I teach health and fitness entrepreneurs how to find their first 1,000 subscribers. Now we break down how to get 1,000 subscribers into our main steps, which are our modules. Number 1, create your opt-in incentive. Number 2, create your landing page. Number 3, create and set up your autoresponder. Number 4, create your ad campaign. Number 5, implement and iterate. And then we take each main step and again break it down into sub-steps, which become our lessons. We'll do this for just one module, but you do it for each of your modules. So, create your opt-in incentive becomes, number 1, identify your customer avatar's biggest problem. Number 2, write the copy for your opt-in incentive. Number 3, design your opt-in incentive using Canva. Now, you repeat that for each of your main steps and sub-steps, and that's your outline. Done. So here's another tip. Once you're done, go back through and see if you can make the title of each main step and sub-step inspiring, action-oriented, and transformational. See the worksheet for some examples that we've provided for you. So to look at this in its totality, can you see how you've now got a simple, clear map of your clients' and customers' transformations? In this lesson, you learned how to outline your product and a framework for creating products that are designed to solve the needs of your avatar. This is how you create a product that your clients and customers will rave about. In part 2, we're going to go deeper into your transformation roadmap and show you a framework for creating excellent, engaging products quickly. I'll see you there.